How do I go to full screen?
Why are you going to do that?
Well, I have all of you, when you talk, I see you, but you're all on the left side in about 4 inches of space.
You can make that screen bigger. You can
In the
expand
middle of
that
the screen, it says join the conversation.
You need to click something.
You can expand that screen, I believe.
Yeah.
You go up to view on the
Upper right-hand corner.
yeah.
Whoops, I'd lost you all now.
Oh my. Well, if you go to view, you can just put on the speaker, just the person speaking. It's up. Maybe you shouldn't do anything.
We can still see and hear you, so you're good.
Yeah. Okay. Are we recording?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And it is 6:01. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is Historic Preservation Architectural Review Commission, Tuesday, May 11th at 6 o'clock. Welcome, everyone. We're saying a couple goodbyes for this meeting. Bonnie is leaving us. She's departing. She's off council, and I guess today is your last official, or maybe you have another meeting yet.
I'm still in office until my successor is sworn in on Monday. This is my last official meeting.
Okay, until next Monday.
Until the council meeting next Monday when Khalil and Carolyn are sworn in.
Okay, well, very
No.
good. And we can call on Bonnie for
My
one more.
water's here.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Did you touch something?
Also, Henry has retired, for those of you who have worked closely with him, as I have, and Bill has, and
Sign in, welcome
a
back.
lot of other people. So he's
That's the password, maybe that helps.
he deserves a good retirement. He's worked long and hard, and I knew him when he was up in Dover. Worked with him a lot up in Dover. Also, happy Preservation Month, along with a couple other things that are designated for May. So also a reminder to everyone that starting next month, we will be meeting on, will be changed from the second Tuesday to the first Thursday of each month, starting in June. The meeting will still be at 6 o'clock, and it will still be a Zoom presently. And when we go back to in person, we'll be informed. But for now, it's still Zoom. Okay, minutes. We have minutes from the 2 months ago,
Sorry to sign in.
March 9th. And there was a question at our last.
Do you have the password to sign in?
No.
We can hear you, Phil, and we can see you. So,
You can. I can't see anybody. I can hear you.
well, I don't know what to tell you, but you can hear us, correct?
Yeah, I can hear everything you're saying.
All right. Somehow you don't have to sign back in. You're in. You just have to figure out a way to get your video back.
Right.
And so I don't know whether you just need to slide your screen over. Oh, hi, Bill.
Hey, how we doing?
Good.
It's the upper right corner.
Okay. Whoops, lost Phil. All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get started with the minutes. We have 2 minutes to review. One was from March 9th. There was Randy had a question about a comment that Joe had made, and Joe had listened to the tape. I'd asked Joe and Randy to take listen to the video. And Joe, where are you? Oh, there you are. Okay. Yes, there you are. All right. And you want to comment on whether you think what's in the minutes is accurate? Any suggestions or?
It's not exactly what I said, but it's the gist of it. I mean, it may be a historic artifact, but since it's not in the historic district, it's not under our jurisdiction.
Right.
So yes, the last bulleted item on page 9 is correct. It's not an exact quote, but I'm happy with it. It'll work.
Okay, Randy, did you?
I agree. I move that we adopt the March 9th minutes as written.
Okay,
Second.
yeah, all second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, done. Then we have the minutes from April 13th meeting. Does anybody have any corrections or additions? No? Do I have a motion to approve as submitted?
I should be there.
So moved.
Second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay. And then our first applicant is the presentation and possible action on a request by Merrill and Susan Johnson for the demolition and removal of 2 existing accessory structures and the construction of a new accessory structure and carport. This property is located at 113 Dewey Avenue, Sussex County Tax Map 335 -8.11-129.00 R-4H contributing. And do we have someone that's presenting this?
Right here.
Oh, hi.
Hello. I just got on miraculously.
Good. Good timing.
Well, we were trying before, but anyway, I'm here.
I know, it's a little challenging, this technology, but now I called Robin earlier today because I recall that we had this similar application before for a car park.
Correct.
And it was denied as a chair and staff. And then you came back with a whole garage and it was approved.
Well, clarification, Madam Chair. I don't think we ever denied it as a chair and staff. Mr. Johnson asked us to look at it.
Okay,
And we were concerned because carports, we hadn't really reviewed any carport.
Okay.
So we didn't even know if it was eligible for a chair and staff.
okay,
And, he kind of was just getting some ideas on how to proceed. And now he wants to remove his existing accessory structure on the property for another accessory structure and potentially also a carport.
okay. All right, well, the accessory structures are contributing. And I think Robin mentioned to you that it would require a demolition hearing.
Yes.
Yeah, the accessory structure that is on the property is noted as contributing. So as per our regulations, anytime you ask to demolish a contributing structure, it does require a public hearing to be held.
So we can go ahead and set that up for the first meeting that we have in June, correct, Robin?
Yes, that will be normally we set it up for the next scheduled meeting date, which will be the first Thursday in June,
Okay.
which will be the 3rd. Is that correct?
Could be.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there, do you just want to jump straight to and just move forwards with the setting, or is there any maybe brief comment?
Well,
Mr. Johnson, if somebody wants to kind of give him.
yeah, I tell you,
on the maybe the new structure. Voting.
Yeah, would any of the commissioners want to comment on the proposed replacement structure?
Well, do you want to have the presentation and then we could approve or deny this pending
a demolition hearing or?
No, all this is if, normally what would happen is you would just move forward to make a motion to set for the public hearing for next June 3rd for the demolition and the reconstruction. But if you have maybe any comments, which you were looking through the application that maybe you want to, you know, speak to Mr. Johnson on, maybe to give him an idea if there's any type of concern.
Yeah,
to the upcoming meeting.
Yeah, I think it would be beneficial, just since we're all here, to just give the applicant some feedback. So he since we're all here. So I think we're not going to officially review it. I think one thing I had commented to Robin is that the way the description is, it's just kind of written in on top of the photograph or the cut sheet. It talks about the windows aren't quite like this. There's no stone. The door moves over. I mean, that's a lot to try and figure out, well, what the heck is it going to look like? So if you come back with this next month, you really need to have a presentation that shows us what you plan to install.
Do you want me to draw something? I mean, it's
Well,
not built, so I can't take a picture of it.
well, the manufacturer, do they have a photograph of what you're planning to buy?
It's a one-off, so almost certainly not, but we can come up with something. But I mean, that's it, except there's no windows on the front and the stone's not there.
You're
But
talking about the high windows?
no, the dormer's there. It's the
Okay.
lower windows and the stone. They're not going to be there.
Oh, no windows at all.
Correct.
And then you said the door moves over?
A little bit to the left, yes. There will be, as the lower picture, you see the picture on the from the side there, that door will be there and that window will be above that door.
Okay.
So the difference is really the 4 windows on the front will not be there and the door will be moved a little bit to the left. But I can come up with something better, but it'll have to be a hand-drawn thing.
Yes, this is Phil Franz speaking. I was having trouble figuring it out also. And then you said something, I don't have my notes in front of me, but something about the stone was not going to be there. Well, what's going to be there?
Hardy plank.
What?
It's the hardy plank that's the rest of the siding is going to be, which is what my house is built with, except for the front.
I really
Okay.
feel we need to see what you're going to be doing and not just, imagining, well, the stone's not there, it's going to be something else. The windows aren't like quite what you see. There's going to be something else. The dormer is going to be there. Are they going to be the windows that you see in the dormer?
Correct.
Is that the dormer?
That dormer will be identical.
Mhm.
And I can come up with a drawing, but I can't take a picture of what's not built.
Of course.
I think a
And
drawing
that's a
would be
one.
helpful.
A drawing with dimensions would be very helpful. And is there anything on the reverse sides?
The back will be just wood or hardy plank lap siding all the way across.
And the right side also just plain?
Correct, although I'm going to put a window similar to the window that's over top of the door that's on the other side. So
You know-
a high up, long, skinny window, identical to the existing one.
That kind of window is traditionally done over a door, not just in the
Correct.
wall.
Yeah, it's really just to put light on the workbench.
Well, I think it would be more suitable if you had a regular window then, a double hung window, one of the, similar to
Because
what that you're taking out.
The goal is security. I don't want somebody to break the window to climb it. And this window will be 10 feet off the ground. And it's also will not be visible from the street.
Okay.
Is your foundation going to be a concrete pad that it's going to sit on?
No, it's going to be a crawl space.
Okay.
on-
Is it going to sit where the outbuildings are now that are planned for removal?
Yep. So if we get the demo of the two, one's a plastic, Home Depot product that will just be removed. The other's an old
Yeah, I saw.
wood
but-
lap shed that's leaning over.
Yeah, so it's going to be the far left corner in the back. You can barely see it.
Yeah, it'll be directly behind the house. So if the fence was removed and you looked at the backyard from a catty corner, you might see glimpses of it.
Okay.
Is it possible to draw in on the site plan exactly to scale what the building is and where it's going? The
Absolutely.
footprint of the building on the site plan?
I believe that's on the site plan, but we can do a
But
better
it-
job of it if that's what you'd like. So
But
the-
it's,
the
is that the
submitted
12
site
by
plan-
20?
Yeah, 12
Is
by
that the
20.
12 by 21 rectangle?
No, that would be the carport. The shed will be at the back left corner on the site
Oh,
plan.
I see. It's a 10 by 20 new shed.
Yeah,
I mean,
So Phil, is that, it's already shown on the site plan?
Yeah.
yeah, but it doesn't say,
It
you know,
says,
that it's,
It's-
well, it says it's 3 feet from the property line. Is
Three
that to
foot off.
scale, that building?
it's 10 to 20 feet new shed.
Right, okay.
Well, it's gonna be close to the line, I would think. That looks like a decent sized shed there.
it's decent size. It's definitely, I'll maintain the 3-foot setback.
Yeah.
Can you give us a dimension, how far that shed is from the house?
It might be
know-
on there. Hold on.
Is that what's on here? Is that 28, 8 inches?
Yeah, 28.8, so if the shed's gonna be 3, so it'll be 13, so it'll be 15. What is that?
18,
Yeah, 15. Well, 15.8.
okay.
Can you do a site plan that shows these dimensions to scale on the site plan?
Well,
Absolutely.
Phil,
Yeah,
can't, if we've got this plan and,
yeah, I have that plan, Barbara, in front of me.
yeah, and if he just gives you a dimension from the house to the shed, which he just
Right.
figured out approximately what it would be, and he does have the, I think it's those 3 foot from the side, is that a setback dimension?
Yep,
And a 3,
setback to 3 feet on both sides.
okay,
Barbara,
yes,
I have a question for Mr. Johnson.
go ahead.
Is your shed being fabricated by Capitol Building Shed Outlet?
Correct.
I mean,
Which I think has built several sheds in town.
yeah, I
At
mean,
least they tell me that.
they're gonna have to fabricate this in the factory. They're gonna have to give their designers that have to give their carpenters something to work with. They're gonna have, you know, a layout, plans and elevations. You should talk to your rep at the Capitol Building Shed Outlet and see what they'll be working from. Get a copy
Certainly.
and send it on to us so we can look at it too.
Will do. So does this process, so I have to get the approval for the demo and then I'm back in front of you guys again where I'll resubmit with the new information? Is that what, how
Correct,
this plays out?
correct. Yeah, we're just trying to kind of
Yeah.
move it forward a little bit by giving you feedback now instead of just sending
All
it home.
right, so I'll get a better site plan and I'll do a better job with the pictures of the building.
Right, yeah, something that's closer to what you plan to use.
And Mr. Johnson, if you submit
Mr.
what I'll
Johnson?
do is I'll put it with the original application and re-give it and re-hand it back out to the members.
Okay,
So come June 3rd, we will hold a public hearing. After the public hearing, a meeting will start and then your application will be reviewed at the same meeting.
okay. And is that similar to this where I'll be part of it or is that, and it's?
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
And that is that another month after the June 1st or 3rd meeting?
The June 3rd, you should potentially have an answer for the demolition and reconstruction,
I see.
an approval or denial.
Okay.
One
So
more
then-
tidbit for Mr. Johnson. Just to consider that's the fact that you've got termites there now. When you do your demolition, consider having the ground termite treated,
Yeah, absolutely.
waiting for your next building.
Yeah, I'm a
treat the
home
soil.
inspector.
Okay.
I've been a home inspector in DC for the last 30 years, so I know houses. But I will do that. Thank you.
Okay. Just a,
Okay, are we gonna now talk about, Robin, are we gonna talk about the carport also?
That's up to you. Well, I don't know if it has anything to do with, well, I guess you can if you would like.
Well, just,
Well, isn't that part of this same application? So,
Application.
but this application for the carport could be heard tonight because it's not contingent upon the demolition, or maybe
Correct.
Mr.
I think
Johnson
so.
sees that it is.
I submitted them together.
yeah, I
you
think,
know,
I think, yeah, we should do this all together next month.
oh, George, you don't think we should do the carport not now?
No, I would say just, I mean, we can talk about it, but, you know, I think we'll have a good idea when we consider the entire thing last month, rather than giving permission for half of the project tonight and then half the project next month. Unless that's is that a construction, would delaying the carport?
Well,
a month?
I think it would be good. I think it would be good for the applicant to get some feedback from us.
Right,
that-
feedback.
Because he's you know, we essentially did just a preliminary review some time ago, and then you came before
Right.
us.
Well, I mean, whatever you all want to do, if you want to approve half of this project tonight and half next month, we can do that, or we can just.
I don't think that's where we're going, George.
Oh, okay, I thought that's what you were suggesting.
No, I just want to talk about it.
Right.
So, you
Madam
know,
Chair,
yes.
yeah, this is a contributing structure of the house,
Yes.
and the homes around it are. And I didn't see any carports on the road, on the street anywhere. Why would we put a carport here with a contributing structure there? I mean, it baffles me.
It's a good question. I don't see that it's appropriate either for the historic district.
I thought it was a very good question also.
I did as well.
Mhm.
I
perhaps it
question the
would help if
appropriateness.
I explain the goal here is I have a Bambi Airstream, if you're familiar with that. And my goal is to park it in the backyard, which is my understanding is allowed. And this carport with its curved roof would parallel the shape of the top of the Airstream perfectly. And it's a bit of an upscale carport. It was what I came up with that I thought would fit in the backyard better than anything else, because primarily from the street, it really would be quite unnoticeable. I mean, you'd be looking at it straight on, and the thin metal structure of it, it's an aluminum that's anodized brown, would not jump out. I don't, maybe a carport's not allowed, period. I thought about a post and beam style carport. I thought about those cheap aluminum ones. I didn't really want that in my backyard. So this is what I came up with. I thought aesthetically would look best with my Bambi Airstream underneath it. So that's my goal, is to make it as least noticeable and fitting for the neighborhood. But if you guys don't like carports, obviously that's your prerogative. Would a post and beam one be something you think would be more attractive or appropriate? I don't know.
And how, this is just going to protect the top of it. It's not going to protect the
Correct. Yeah,
sides.
just it's mostly hail damage, and I know we don't get much of it, but if you can keep the sun and the hail off the top of the Airstream, it protects it. That will total an Airstream dimples from hail. And this is a very small, a Bambi Airstream is the smallest one if you've ever seen it. It's single axle, very small, and would not overwhelm the yard in any sense. I wouldn't put it back there if I thought it would.
What is the height?
The Airstream is about 10. So I would adjust the carport height to have minimum clearance, no higher than it would need to be.
How would you modify the fence to, because that's not part of this submission, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that whole front.
Robin and
it's
I
all about
spoke.
the streetscape, not.
So the goal with the fence to make it as unnoticeable from the street as possible. So I was going to put 2 6-foot removable sections that I could just pick up and move out of the way, or perhaps hinge it from the inside. But from the street, the goal will be that the fence will not change whatsoever.
Well, I would,
I just have a question about the structure. We have a lot of hurricanes here, not a lot, but a few. What is holding us down? How is it anchored into the soil?
There'll be footers and it'll be bolted into footers.
Poured concrete and anchor bolt. I'm sure Robin
Mhm.
will prove it. Okay.
well, what would be your backup if this is not approved?
I'm open to suggestions.
Mm.
Why, the reason I came up with this is I just thought it'd be the least noticeable from the street because of the thin nature of the supporting structure of it. And, you know, the concave roof or curved roof matching that of the Airstream. But if a different type of carport works better for you guys, I'm open to suggestions. I'm thinking that a post and beam one might be more appropriate, but also that's going to be big and bulky and chunky looking. And I didn't really like the thought of that. Either way we look at it though, you guys did approve when we first moved into this house, we had a very large garage designed and approved.
Right.
And I just came to the conclusion that was just too overwhelming. I mean, it was just too big.
Was that going to also be for the Airstream?
Originally, yeah.
Is the reason, Mr. Johnson, that you want the open air cover like that is just because, you know, you can still get in it, you know, you don't have the Airstream tucked away inside of a garage. It's more like a usable situation there in your yard. And I'm not asking about use and occupancy. I'm just trying to understand the genesis of the application, because a carport in a metal format like this doesn't seem like it's compatible to the rest of the regulations within the historic district. If what we are governed by is taking a look at things and seeing how they match the rhythm and the scale of adjacent properties or the district as a whole, a round curved top metal structure that's free and open doesn't meet that. But possibly something like there is in the Canal Front Park that the boats are stored under down there that has much more of a old historic look to it. I'm just saying, there's an incompatibility. So I'm trying to understand what the reason for the open air nature is to help make an informed decision.
I guess the bottom line is that when I measured out and looked hard and thought hard about the garage that we approved, it was just so overwhelming. It just took up the entire backyard. So this would be much smaller. So the goal is, although it doesn't offer the same protection that the garage would for the Airstream, it'd be more or less tucked into the backyard and I'd still have a backyard. We could still have a vegetable garden and whatnot. I am very familiar with that product down there at Canal Front Park. I kayak out of there all the time. And I thought about something like that. And I'm not opposed to something like that. If that's something that you feel is more appropriate, hey, I'm open to that idea. So that could be a possibility as well. I don't know if I'd have it. When I refer to post and beam, that's what I'm referring to, is that kind of structure where it's big exposed chunks of wood and maybe a standing metal seam roof or a tin roof on it.
Randy, where is this structure at the canal?
It's right next to the tennis courts and the children's playground, right by the overfalls.
Oh, it's got the Monomoy. It has the Monomoy under it.
There's a boat in there.
There's a boat underneath it.
It's a restored Monomoy historic boat.
Yeah, that's nice.
That was very nice. Yeah. I think
it just seems to me that something like that is more in the rhythm of, and I know that as you get to, you know, that section of town, you're getting further away from the old colonial historical, but when you look at your backdoor neighbor with the BB block on the house and all of those kind of things, it becomes more in keeping with the vernacular of the town. Just a comment, not telling you what to do.
No, that's what we're here for. If you guys feel like that's going to look better, I'll look into researching that and I'll submit something what I can find, that will be more of that nature.
Okay. Do you want to just withdraw the application that we're discussing and come back with another, no?
No, I'm not well, it seems like we
No,
have to get
Robin's-
the demo
Robin's
approval
shaking his
first.
head no. I mean, Robin?
If he withdraws, then we withdraw the public hearing, the whole application.
Oh, it's all one thing? Okay, all right.
I don't know if it's up to the commission. You know, he's gonna have to come and submit a packet for the next June meeting. He can just submit new documents.
Okay, so we're not gonna vote. He's just going to come back next month.
What you need to vote on is to set the public hearing for the demolition.
And then
Okay.
I'll submit the new documents with a better picture, a better site plan, and a
Okay.
carport that's a post and beam design. Does that sound appropriate to everybody?
Sounds like a plan, yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
a site plan to scale.
Mhm. Is there any objection to the design concept of the shed? Do I need to change that in any way?
well, I mean, as I mentioned before, those skinny little windows over the doors that are like a clear story or something like that, they are historically over a door. They're over front
Get rid of the
doors.
one on the one side? I can do that.
Hmm?
Get rid of the one that's not
Yeah.
under a door. Okay,
Yes,
we can do
not
that.
over a door. Yes, yes.
And the
You know.
stone wouldn't be there.
Stone won't.
Stone wouldn't be there.
It's just gonna be it's gonna, it's gonna be lap siding all the way down to the ground.
Mhm. And,
I would appreciate a drawing that shows what you're building, what's going to be there, not a description like it's the windows are going to be a little different when what I'm showing, the materials are going to be different. Will show us what you are going to do.
he is, Phil.
He's gonna-
Okay.
He's going to do that, yes. So I guess we need a motion to set the hearing for next month for the demolition request.
I make the motion that we set a demolition hearing, public hearing for our next meeting. So at June 3rd,
June 3rd.
all right,
June 3rd.
June 3rd, and defer this application to that meeting after the public hearing.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passed. We'll see you next month.
Okay, one quick question, Robin, is there a time frame that I need to resubmit this stuff? Is it before the 3rd?
Yes.
Yes, it's 10 working days prior to the meeting.
Okay,
So
All right.
about 10 days from the meeting date.
thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much.
Take care.
Appreciate your flexibility. Alright. Okay, moving right along. We have presentation and possible action on a request by Mark Redden, returning again, on behalf of Harvest Tide Restaurant for the construction of an accessory structure to be used as an outdoor dining area. The property is located at 410 East Savannah Road, Sussex County Tax Map 335, 4.20-175.00 MC not contributing. 410 Savannah Road. Mark? Hi again.
Hello, how we doing?
Hey, Mark.
Doing good.
It's becoming a regular here, so.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Full background.
Thank you. It's a house I did at Cape Shores.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's where the zoning, the odd zoning worked in my favor. So it was gonna be a big block of screen porches, ended up being much more interesting. But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. I'll talk about what we're actually here because you guys got a long agenda, it looked like. I do not want to hold you up.
And Mark, just before you start, just for clarification, this structure is not located in the historic district.
Right.
It's just being reviewed because it's under the commercial aspect of the review.
Correct.
Okay, so this is basically the Harvest Tide restaurant. I believe they've come to you before. A few years back, we did the renovations to the building from the old pizza place that was there.
Mhm.
And now, with the pandemic, they have, turned their front parking lot into outdoor seating. on a temporary basis, with rope, and it's kind of hideous. The idea though is that this has been fairly popular, and they want to convert this into a permanent seating area. And by doing that, by putting down a boardwalk, which is going to be, wood sleepers with composite decking, and then some planter boxes around the edges, and then a pergola with bistro lights installed above to provide the lighting. Don't think surely should actually be an upgrade to the front of the building, we feel, as you can see from the pictures. Hopefully you agree. And then, like I said, we don't think it's really going to affect the neighbors because it's already a commercial area. It's kind of a more residential feel to it, actually, because the building a little more to the street. And then on top of that, I know there was concern about parking, but they actually have, and actually the first page kind of goes through the parking, plenty of parking, even under the full code with that area, with those, I think, 4 parking spaces that have been absorbed into this. They have already been doing signage to try to educate their patrons about where to park behind the building. That's sometimes a challenge, getting people to go where they need to go, but they have the parking and they have signs telling people where to park and not to park in the neighbors' properties. So we feel like we've done what we can do to make this attractive to the city and not a nuisance to the neighborhood.
Right. I had one question. I had 2 questions. One, the lighting. Is it more down lighting? Is it going to be objectionable?
No, so it's basically it's a very soft, intimate lighting they're going for. They're not playing. There's no, but basically it's kind of like it's bistro lighting. So really large Christmas lights, basically. It'll provide a gentle illumination across the seating area, but it really shouldn't throw much light into the neighbors or across the street or into the wetlands across the street there.
Okay.
So we'll all look good under that lighting.
You look good under lighting, George. Don't worry about that. I am not afraid to suck up to get approval.
Okay, and
I looked at the lighting too, and wondered if I wasn't so concerned about the lighting affecting the neighbors, but the lighting attractive all the bugs from across the street, the watershed area. And if it was down lights in cans, it would be softer and not so glaring, but also not attracting the bugs that are going to be there coming to see the light.
I can see where you're coming from with that. I will say that currently they already have a smaller version of this kind of across. I mean, they've already got the temporary setup, which does not have the full bistro lights, but they've run lights around the outside of the building.
Right.
And I drove by there the other day after dark and took a peek, and it really, I don't expect the lighting levels, the lumens really to change a whole lot, because there's already a decent amount of light being thrown out of the front windows and the lights they've got. I don't think it's going to be any more attractive than it already is for the insects.
Okay.
Bonnie, is Lewis a dark sky city?
No, I don't believe so.
Rehoboth has adopted that, and I didn't know if because it appears a lot of our lights that are replacement lights are all down lights as opposed to up lights.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, what I was actually looking up is I had remembered something about strings of light bulbs, and I mean I know they have them at all I can think of is Harvest Tide now. The restaurant next to
Striper Bite.
Fish on?
Yeah, but I think it's there's 197-66A, which is signs prohibited in all districts. It says strings of light bulbs, pennants, streamers, balloons, or banners are prohibited, but I think that's only if it's a sign.
Yeah.
So I think you're okay with this these strings of lights. I just wanted to double check because I had remembered something about Christmas like lights, but I think it's okay if it's used in this kind of pergola setting as opposed to as a sign. But no, I don't believe we're a dark sky, but I will say that for at least the 9 years that I've been on council, I think there's been a lot of sensitivity shown to particular to broadcast lighting as opposed to down lighting. This sounds like it's pretty subtle.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I can't speak to Phil's concern about insects. I just don't know. I have a feeling they'll have a couple of bug zappers out there, probably take care of that. It won't be very appetizing, but it'll work.
Yeah,
Cicadas.
Protein.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been my experience dining in restaurants that have this very concept that the lights are high enough that they really, the bugs are going, what bugs there are going for the higher, they're going for the light. So who's eating down below, I haven't really been affected by that type of thing.
Yeah, I have to agree. And because it's not grass, that may help as well. In terms of the bugs just not wanting to come over there. Bugs are vegetation, so.
Mark, the built-up flooring that you're putting under the pergola area, does that extend across to the building? Or do you step down?
It will actually probably end up flush with the sidewalk around the building because there's a little step down to the paving for the asphalt now. So it'll probably end up being pretty much in line with the concrete.
So, okay, so is that what it is? It's built right up to the concrete?
Yeah, because it's just basically going to put like a 2x flat on the paving and then put the composite board on top of that. So there's only going to be up a couple inches. And right now there's a small curb around the building with the concrete. So it should be pretty close to in line.
Okay.
Be very low because the asphalt's a little funky as far as where it sits. But we'll adjust for that.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering whether it was a step down or not.
No, it should be all within, half an inch to an inch of each other, which it have to be for ADA. So we'll have to make sure that, it ends up being pretty level.
Okay, so that concrete is a raised concrete. It's like a step almost?
There's a small lip. I mean, we say step, it's a small step, but yes, there's a little step around the building, little curb.
Okay, yeah, I think it looks very nice. Does anybody else have any questions?
I do.
Joe?
Yeah, that's, I just had, you just answered my question about wheelchair access, and it sounds it's guaranteed there.
Yeah, we're trying to maintain accessibility. It's not technically required by code because we could always bring them inside. That being said, we don't want to, discriminate against anybody by cutting them off from having when they sit on the patio. It's intended to be accessible.
Have you thought about ceiling fans at all? Exterior ceiling fans, just to provide a ambiance?
Well, part of this is that they're trying to maintain it as a fairly simple structure. That brings in a whole bunch of conduit and protecting the wire and that kind of stuff, which we're trying to kind of avoid as much as possible. I'm not saying that won't, 5 years from now, they won't think they want to do it, but those things tend to, it's not going to be fully enclosed. So those things tend to kind of last maybe like 7 months before the salt air and the rain get into them. And, sometimes they're more trouble than they're worth. So that's not really in the plans right now.
Okay.
We should have plenty of breeze coming up the street there from the bay.
Okay, one more question. The exterior hardware that's holding everything together, is that going to be bare galvanized metal or will it be black hardware?
I'm planning on stainless steel.
Okay.
I think I spec that, but that's, definitely will have to be a high grade finished material.
Yeah, you don't want to expose galvanized.
Galvanized will definitely rust in this environment. Even double dipped will rust. I think I spec'd out the stainless steel, and if I didn't, I will for sure now.
Okay, all right, I'm done. Thank you.
Bill, did you have a question?
I just want to ask real quick, we did talk about the parking, but how many slots does that leave us after we take the 4 out?
Let me count here.
And are we counting on taking any of the spots in the plaza area there at all?
No, we specifically are not allowed to utilize the plaza. That has been a point of contention between the neighbors because they have had issues with people parking there.
I know they buzzed my ear already.
Yes, and the restaurant owners have. If you go to the site, I was actually, because I knew about that too, and I went there. I laughed at how many signs they had about park in our parking lot,
Yeah.
park behind. If you parked in the plaza, please go back to your car and move it. Like they actually have a sign that says that right by the door. So
I
like,
had, yeah, that was a mistake.
yeah,
And they thought, who's this
there's
guy?
nothing you can,
It's
there's
gonna
limits to how
alleviate
much you can
parking.
do, but we are supposed to have, that was one of the things we looked at, whether or not we had enough parking to actually use this space per the zoning code. I have a calc here. Actually, there's a mistake because I messed up my parentheses, but it still worked. We have 34 spaces around the building, and we had to have something like in the upper 20s, I think.
That's good, Mark. Okay. That's good.
Okay. Anyone have any other questions? George, is that a question or?
No, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay.
So
George,
I moved it.
Commissioner Thompson, if you could wait just a second, I got a question to Mark.
Okay.
Mark, on your first page of your overhead, the hash runs down the side of the building.
Yeah, I think that's actually a mistake. It actually goes a lot. It was supposed to go a lot farther down, and we cut it back. It actually only goes part way down that distance.
So what's shown, that hash mark doesn't go all the way down as far as you've shown it?
No, it goes to about the edge. It goes to about halfway through. We see the concrete kind of hatched out.
Yeah.
About halfway through that is where it stops.
So your side elevation on page 2 is correct.
More accurate.
I got
Yes.
it. Okay. That's what I just want to make sure, because I seen the somewhat discrepancy there, and I just want to make
Yes,
sure. which
and
was-
actually, the good news is that we did that the area calcs actually include that space rather than, so we should be more compliant than, because originally it did go all the way down the building, but we realized that little hallway was kind of a nightmare for service.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, now we're back to making a motion, George.
Okay. Because the application concerns a property that is addressed as 410 East Savannah Road in Lewis, tax map number 3-35-4.20-175.00, and is not a contributing structure. And uses previously approved materials, conforms to the rhythm and scale requirements, and is not in the Lewis Historic District. I move that this application be approved as submitted.
I second.
Who seconded it?
I did.
Okay, thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 And any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. I'll see you again next month.
Madam Chair, would you each please state your reasons for your vote?
Of course, sorry. All right, let's go back. Let me get my little list of names so I don't miss anybody. Okay, Michael, your reason for approving.
Yeah, because it's a non-contributing structure and uses previously approved materials as well as natural materials, I move to approve.
Okay, Randy?
Yes, Madam Chair, I agree with the motion that has been made and seconded, and that this is a property that is non-contributing not within the historic district, and uses similar materials to what have been used in the past on that property, and it'll be a nice addition to some outside dining in Lewis.
Joe?
As for the previous comments, I agree and approve. It's going to be a nice looking outside dining area. Thank you.
Good. Phil?
Yeah, I approve based on it's not in the historic district. It's not a contributing building, and it's designed, proposed, previous approved materials. So I vote positively.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
Yes, I had the concern with the parking, but the parking, more slots than what were actually allowed. The materials fall in line with what we approve from project to project. I think what they're trying to do here fits in well in all of that stretch along there on the way into the beach.
Yeah. George?
I love the simplicity of the design. I think also too, what's going to having eaten by the front windows there, that I think this is going to actually improve the view from inside the restaurant as well. So I look forward to eating in both locations, in the patio and on the inside by those front windows again.
Right, thank you. And I too approve this project. I think it's done in a very sensitive manner. It's consistent with materials we've approved before, and also it enhances the streetscape, which is always important. And congratulations. So, well done.
Thank you. Let's you guys get on to your next agenda item then.
Yes, yes, thank you, thank you. All right. So, next item is 125 Jefferson Avenue. And it's the property is located at it's Sussex County Tax Map 335-8.12-47.00 Ford R-4H contributed. And this is the request for the porthole. Arlene, are you with us?
Can you see me?
I cannot. I only see.
What do I have to, I'm on, there's a square with my name on it.
Yes.
What do I press?
Well, you should have a little video on my screen. It's in the lower left. Looks like a movie camera.
Or it could be in the upper right.
Could it say start video?
You're
There it is. Start
Yeah.
video.
Here you are.
Very good.
Here I am, back. I'm back.
We can see you, Arlene.
I don't even have the paperwork in front of me, but I have to say that I was inundated by Ray's neighbors after our last meeting. And Michael, I don't know, Michael was absent from that vote.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the neighbors have risen up in arms, and I sent Robin additional letters. I think I've now sent him 17 letters of approval, and some of them are strong approval, and some pictures that also people sent me unsolicited of things in the historic district that they thought were maybe even more inappropriate than the porthole window. So I included those, and I confess that one of the pictures was mine, and it was those boulder rocks on Savannah Avenue.
No, that's that is actually not in the historic district. It's the next.
Oh,
one.
it isn't?
No.
Believe me.
Wow.
Believe me, those rocks would not be there. Trust us on that one.
Well, so I came back hoping for the seventh vote. The seventh vote would be positive. The neighbors, as you can see, feel very positive. Not that the neighbors are the historical commission, but it does seem like a small incidence here. And it's, 25 feet back from the sidewalk. And we haven't touched anything. We haven't touched the original building at all.
Well, I think it's always nice when people can tweak things and do their little personal touches. And I think there's a lot of opportunities to do that without installing a permanent porthole.
Right.
And our charge is not to accept, quirkiness or allow, our charge is to responsibly. In fact, one of the quotes, I printed it. It's the purpose of the Historic Preservation Architectural Review Commission is to safeguard and enhance the historic heritage of the city by preserving elements that reflect the cultural, social, economic, political, or architectural history of the city. HPARC shall have jurisdiction over all structures in the historic district of the city of Lewis. This jurisdiction includes all existing and new structures. And as I read before, the new construction, the section under windows is new construction, new structures in the historic district and alterations to existing historic structures shall have windows compatible with existing and surrounding structures. So it does not, we need to be compliant with that.
Well, yes, we do.
And so anyway, we're going to go around, and I don't know if we need more discussion or if we should just make a motion and vote? I mean, it's up, does anybody have anything they want to discuss about this before we?
I'm hoping that the missing member has actually looked at the window.
Yeah, no, I've looked at the window and I've walked by the property and I've reviewed the city code. And I just have a very, very difficult time under 197-59, where I don't see where this proposed porthole demonstrates compatibility to the relationship of the exterior architectural features of the structure or the surrounding neighborhood. And I do have to agree that the addition of some sort of opening would serve as an enhancement, but the windows across the original structure are double hung, and if a double hung window could be integrated into there, I would be more amenable to considering it for approval. Also citing the code 197-59 historic properties criteria standards, where a proposed new structure or any alteration to an existing structure or historic property shall conform to the city code. However, it's the intent of HPARC consistent with its purpose to assist in preserving the historic character and the historic fabric of the city of Lewis, to work in conjunction with the applicant to arrive at the most desirable and appropriate outcome. So some sort of opening that would be more in line with the original structure, I would be very, very amenable to, but I don't think the porthole cuts it. And I also read the additional backup material, and I can appreciate the public concern. But I mean, these guidelines were established for a reason, and a number of the photographs that were included in your most recent submission, as Barbara pointed out, the one building isn't even the historic district, and all of the other buildings never came before this consolidated commission. So, and the ordinance is the one
that seems hard to believe, because that church on
it's true.
No, he said, Arlene, he said the consolidated, the HPARC, which is what.
Oh, with the new ordinance.
Yeah,
But yeah, the new ordinance that came into being in 2018, and that's what we're bound by at this particular juncture. So I would not support the integration of that thing into the front of the structure.
Oh, I see that. Did my best. I think
you did.
Madam Chair, the homeowner has his hand raised. Would you want him to speak?
He may speak if he likes, yes.
Mr. Para, you need to unmute. There you go. Yep.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you. I have to ask, and Barbara, when you read your quotation from some of the guidelines, there was some verbiage about being historical and social settings of the area. And I find it hard to believe that having something with a nautical theme doesn't fulfill some of those parameters. You know, I can understand that you're concerned with not having something, you know, a round window in a building that doesn't have any other round windows, but perhaps we need to look past the black and white issue here, that it's not a double hung window, that it's a round window. And perhaps maybe we kind of shot ourselves in the foot when we presented this as a porthole instead of a round window.
Well, I don't think a round window would have passed either.
Really?
No, I mean, I'll read it again. New construction.
Well, there are so many round windows.
Yeah, there are.
District.
Are there round windows in the historic portion?
Oh my goodness, Barbara, you need to go out and drive around. Within
there are
5 minutes, you'll see 20 round windows in the historic district. They're all over the place.
Of the original house, your house.
I don't think so. I think I can find lots of examples of round windows on new construction.
In your house, in your historic.
No, not in my house, but in lots of other houses in the historic district.
But your house.
It's okay.
There's a lot of subject.
Your new addition.
About 1/28 diameter window. It's one window. It's 20 inches in diameter. So if I presented to you a 20-inch diameter round window with a brass ring around it, you would still refuse that?
Yes, for the same
Even
reason.
though all the people that live on our street that drive by there and walk by there have voiced their approval, except for one person that's sitting on the board on your committee.
Do you understand that this is not a popular vote?
Yes,
Commission?
I understand that.
Okay,
I
all
understand
right.
that.
Okay.
However, do you understand that there's got to be some, what people might consider common sense used when these judgments are made? And I just feel like you're taking the power vested by being on this committee and saying, to some degree, we like this, but we don't like this.
No, I'm sorry, I have to disagree with that. We are following guidelines, and this is not about what one of us may like or don't like. I happen to like the porthole, but it doesn't follow the guidelines. And
Well,
I think if you
again, I
want,
think there's some
excuse
subjectivity in there.
excuse me, sir. And if you wanted to hang it somewhere on the outside of your house, you can do that. You just can't install it and call it as a window because it's not compatible with the historic structure that you just so carefully took care of.
Well, thank you for saying that, because we did, as Arlene has pointed out, we did not touch any of the other significant historic structure when we did our renovation. Nothing. We didn't touch any of it. And I think that was totally glossed over by the commission.
No, no, we appreciate it and we notice that. It's
okay, I didn't hear it mentioned.
It's the right thing to do. And the majority of people who have a small historic house, but their needs are much greater than the restrictions of a small historic house. And they do a very sensitive addition, which Arlene has designed for you. And you know, but that's the way you do, that's called historic preservation.
Well,
and that's what this is about. And it's not about creating some combination of historic pieces.
Well, it is historic. It's historically a maritime city, so.
True.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
This past week, when I was driving around and walking around and looking at the applicants for tonight, one of the things I planned on doing was going around the historic district and looking for windows that are not rectangular and not double hung. And there are several that are windows, transom windows above French doors or single doors on Victorian houses in the historic district. There's one right on Kings Highway that we approved. It's the house that was completely restored and done beautifully. That house also in the attic window had a curved window, but in the end they put in 2 double hung windows. So windows are not always black and white. There are examples of windows that are not double hung and not rectangular. I looked at this window again, and I voted for it the last time, and I will vote for it again because I don't think it's so far out of the definition.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we have any, Joe?
Yeah, this may be kind of far out, but would it be possible for the owner to build a window box, say like a double hung window, 24 by 30, over the porthole? leave the porthole in place and put a slightly bumped out window to cover it up and make it look like everything else. You're shaking your head no. Okay. You don't like that.
No, but they, you know, they can install that the porthole on the back of the structure of the new addition. They can put it on probably somewhere where it's not seen from the street, and or they can hang it as an object on the house. But
okay.
That's a prominent wall and very visible as part of the streetscape.
I want to beat a dead horse here for just one more minute.
Right ahead,
I wasn't
Arlene.
here.
Go right ahead.
This is the house directly across the street from 125 Jefferson. And it's pretty recent. And it's some kind of restoration, but it has this Chippendale rail, which is totally inappropriate for this house. Now, there are not a lot of Georgian revival houses in Lewis. And I noticed when I was reading through the applications today that one of the cases tonight is applying to put a Chippendale rail on their entrance porch. So I really wanted to get that in there. If your whole thing is it's not appropriate, like stop approving those railings.
So noted, Arlene. Thank you so much. Okay. Any other comments before I ask for a motion? Okay. Someone want to make a motion?
Madam Chair, real fast,
Yes.
is Bill Landon joining us?
Where did he go?
He's trying. I'm on the phone with him right now.
Oh,
His computer went down, but he's trying to come on right now.
okay. All right. Well, we'll give him a few minutes then. All right. Well, Arlene, a lot of different things have happened through the years.
Yes, that's true. I know.
You know, you were on HPC once, weren't you?
I was.
Yes, I'm
A
sure.
long time ago.
Yeah, before me, and I'm sure you were a great asset. And
well, it's debatable.
we ask, huh?
Definitely debatable.
Yeah. But okay, as soon as we get Bill, we'll take a motion and vote. So.
Well, I'm so confident with all our neighbors chiming in.
Well, you know, that just doesn't work in this situation.
No, it's not a personality contest. I know.
Yeah, it's not in this situation. We have guidelines, they've been approved, they go through a big, long process, have hearings, goes on and on and on.
How do you justify all those bad garage doors? I mean, while we're waiting for Bill to get back.
Can I just make one comment that this,
sure.
You know, this is my valedictory, so I get to.
Yeah.
There was this kind of the whole popularity contest. I mean, you don't have any idea what the background of people is, whether they understand historic preservation, but it really reminds me of the debate before this commission a number of years ago over the demolition, renovation, the proposed demolition or renovation of the house of Dr. Bradley. And I can't think of too many things I've seen on council where emotions ran higher on that particular issue. And there is no question that this commission, or the commission as it was composed at that point, was looking at a lot of people who sincerely and really to their core felt that house should be demolished because of the monstrous things that the man who at one point owned it had done, not in the house, but elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And the commission ultimately, I mean, my opinion, which doesn't count for much, but did the right thing, because the house was not only historic in and of itself and needed to be, I think, maintained and preserved, but it was obviously one of, as we all know, it was one of 5 similar structures. Mm-hmm. And so if you had knocked that down even if you had tried to rebuild it in a similar style, it would have looked like a missing front tooth for that entire streetscape. But it reminds me of that. I mean, that was a really, really, really fraught discussion. But it just goes to show that sticking with the guidelines, sticking with the rules, what may or may not have happened in Lewis, with before the commission was in place, that's really not germane at this point. This commission has a different and a consistent role, which is to apply the guidelines and is consistent and with as much fidelity as possible. So I don't know, it's not neither here nor there, but I don't know how many people remember that particular hearing. Barbara, I think you do, but it was, that was sort of the highest of popular interest and popular emotion about something. And it was a tough call for the commission, I think, to withstand, as with any group of citizens in any commission, that kind of emotional appeal, but they did, and the commission made the right decision then. It was tough, but it was really important.
I think you could argue about that today.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. My own view was the House did nothing wrong. The man did terrible things.
Right.
So, and I think he's still in prison, isn't he? I mean, I hope he's still in prison. But didn't he at one point like take a header off a staircase or something, trying to escape?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
There's some awful story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope those owners aren't looking in tonight.
I remember somebody at the hearing said, well, should we go tear down the Ford's Theater where Lincoln was shot?
Right.
So the building didn't do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point, Phil. So are we waiting for our?
Yes, we're waiting. We're waiting for.
If Bill can't get on, are we going to have to get off the Zoom and get up? There's Robin on the phone.
Yes.
Are we going to have to do a new Zoom invitation, or how do we get back?
Well,
get it back on?
what it is, it's Bill's computer's not charging up.
Oh,
I have him on the phone.
Yeah,
He can
Robin,
hear
what Bill could do is there should be dial-in instructions. He could dial in and he could give his comments and his, whatever he would like to do.
He can hear everybody on the phone right now.
but can we hear him?
Robin, my point is there should be a dial-in instruction on the Zoom invitation that he could dial into the meeting.
He must be dialed in now somehow because he's listening to the meeting. He can hear what everybody says.
Okay. Bill, can you hear me?
But you can't hear him.
No.
Right.
So he's just hearing through your device, maybe.
Okay, talk, Bill.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can hear you all.
Good.
Great.
Yeah,
Brian, is this fine?
Can you hear? Bill, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Madam Chair.
Okay. We were getting ready to call for a motion and a vote, and didn't know if you.
125 Jefferson, right?
Correct.
Correct. Yeah, and we didn't know, every other people have made comments, and didn't know if you had any comment you wanted to make before somebody made a motion. And
no, I just think the portal is, you can see it straight from the street, and that it wasn't originally planned in the drawing. It doesn't fit into the preservation code, and therefore I have the same opinion to vote the same way I did last time.
Okay. All right, does someone want to make a motion? I think we have to make a motion in the affirmative because that's how it's presented, correct?
Yes, Madam Chair. It would be easier as well.
Okay. So somebody who's going to support it, do they want to make a positive motion?
It doesn't have to be someone who's supporting it to make a positive motion, because you can make the motion and then you can vote against it, even though you made the motion as positive.
True. I just thought maybe somebody who was going to support it would like to make the motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion
Thank you.
to support the addition of a small porthole window on the property of 125 Jefferson Avenue, Sussex County Tax Map 335-8.12-47.00, contributing structure. I think that's it.
Okay, is there a second? Does anybody want to make a second to that motion? Randy?
I'll second it.
Thank you. And we're just going to go around and everybody's going to give their reason for how they're voting instead of repeating it twice. So
Their reason and their vote, Madam Chair.
yes, the reason and your vote. George, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Since I've been on the commission, it's been my objective to be as consistent as possible. I cannot speak for any actions or anything that was approved or denied before I got on the board, but I like to be consistent. So the porthole is, in my opinion, although it's kind of quirky, all that kind of stuff, I don't believe it belongs on a house, period. And part of the reason is, I think in an outside the historic district, it would be fine. In another community, it would be fine. But in this case, if this were to be approved, and my objective is to be consistent, what happens with the next house who wants 20 portholes, or they want the front of their house designed, reshaped into the front of a boat? So for that reason, I am going to vote against the motion.
Okay, thank you, George. Is Bill still here before we lose him?
I am.
Okay, do you want to, would you like to give
Yes,
your vote and your reason?
Yes, thank you. My vote is to disapprove. My reasoning is the porthole where it's located in front of the house, right from the street, very visible. It would not fit into our preservation code. If the porthole was maybe in the back of the house and you couldn't see it, that would be a different story. But since it's right in the front and very visible, it's not within our code. It affects the streetscape, and therefore I disapprove.
Okay, thank you. Phil?
Yeah, based on my driving around and walking around the historic district just this past few days, and seeing that there are examples of different shapes of windows, windows that are above doors, and so I support the installation of this porthole window, and I'm voting in favor of it.
Thank you. Joe?
I voted in favor of this last month. It's a little quirky addition, and I know it could turn loose a flood of porthole developments here in our town, and we will be inundated with round porthole windows. But
Right.
I could set a trend. I'm in favor of this particular porthole. Thank you.
Okay, Randy?
Boy, this has been a challenge, I'll tell you, because I was pretty certain of my vote when I voted last month, having read all of the regulations many, many times, both before being a commission member and since. And as I stated last month, you know, I truly believe that Jefferson Avenue represents one of the best restored streets with a considerable amount of unique character to every residence that is along that street. I also believe that in our code, there is some latitude that allows for us to take a look at through our charge in 197-59A1, which is to safeguard and enhance the historic heritage of the city by preserving the elements which reflect the cultural, social, economic, political, or architectural history of the city. And that's why we have the commission to review each of these things so that it can't become the wild, wild west. And you could have 20 or 30 portholes on a house. That's what we're charged to do, to look at each one individually, I believe, and in the context of the streetscape and the rhythm and the scale of the streetscape. So although I've gone back and forth a bit over the last 30 days, my vote remains affirmative in support of the porthole for all of those reasons. I think that this commission is stronger than the potential mob. And if we aren't, then we're all in trouble.
Thank you, Randy. Michael?
Yeah, because this application involves a contributing structure. It's in the historic district, and my take on the submission versus the code is it doesn't show general compatibility of exterior design and arrangement. I do not move forward to recommend.
Thank you. And I do not vote to accept the porthole either, for all the reasons that have been stated, including what I read out of the guidelines, that it is it's not compatible with the historic character of the residence, of the houses, which and it's very visible from the streetscape. I think it so it did not pass. And thank you, Arlene, very much for your continued efforts.
Madam Chair, if I may interrupt.
Yes, sir.
It looks like the owner has his hand raised again. Do you want him to chance to speak?
Yes. His mic's not on.
Ray?
Ray, your mic's not on. Okay.
Yeah, no, I have nothing further to say. I just am very disappointed that there just seems to be a lot of inconsistency in HPARC rulings. And I do applaud Mr. Burton's comments that, you know, there are 7 of you that I assume have some background in architecture and just, in my opinion, couldn't see the added value of a small window on the front of our house. So I'm disappointed. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so that application is finished. And so we're going to go on to the next one, which is Arlene again.
Right, I'm here.
You're here. All right.
Stay in my corner.
Yes, you do that. You do that well. So this is presentation possible action on a request by Arlene Matzkin on behalf of Susan Ritter to demolish the rear portion of the dwelling, non-contributing, built in 1980, for renovations and additions to the contributing portion of the dwelling. The property is located at 330 Market Street, Sussex County Tax Map 335-8.07-220.00 R-4H contributing, 330 Market Street. Wonderful house. So
Yeah.
Gem in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Yes. So
Should I proceed?
you should proceed. Yes.
Okay. All right, this little house, pretty fabulous. Carpenter Gothic. The front house was built in 1830. I guess you have all these pictures. I don't have to hold them up unless there's confusion. It's a little hard to explain. I mean, we're not doing anything to the front of the house, which, by the way, although it was built in 1830 or 40, was a gable roof. If you look at the picture of the end, one of the ends, you'll see the windows, the window pediment nipped off when they turned the roof into a gable roof and added the cross dormers. We don't know when that was, whether that was before 1870 or at the same time. It's part of the interesting history. Our proposal is to not change the front at all, and the front, luckily, is structurally perfect. So it's the middle section that was built in 1870. There are two parts to the middle section. The front part, which is about 20, which is plus or minus 20 feet long, or 23 feet, I have on my drawing there, was built first. And then it was extended when they built over a porch. And so the whole, if you have the survey, you'll see that the 1980 building is in the very back. The porch is before you get to the 1980 building. And the midsection, built in 1870, is intact. And it was built in that strange, narrow way in order to retain the windows into the front part. There are these windows in the front part that are important. I think that was an important thing that they did, and I think it's an important thing to do. But what I'd like to request is to kind of rebuild the middle part, which is incredibly underbuilt, really bad foundation. It has, if I added the right structure to the second floor joists, the ceilings would be at 7 feet. Our Susan Ritter and her husband, Susan's a normal person, but he's 6'4". So what I would like to do is rebuild the middle section, dropping the floor and making it look identical for about 13 feet. And then if you look on this page, I can make the new part happen in the back. But what you will see from Church Street, you will see that same intersection of old to mid that you have now. My proposal is to make a door where the window is now and keep this upper window in exactly the same place, same trim, same kind of window. It's kind of a complex little problem. And the neighbors love this house. I got another bunch of neighbors who love this house.
Good. Yeah, it's a house everybody wants to love.
Yeah.
So in the one drawing, so you did this one, and I thought maybe there was you weren't taking out a window, but you mark that up.
I'm gonna rebuild this portion and put a window where that door is marked, where I say new door location. That window was there. It was taken out in 1870 when they put the stair in front of it.
Oh, okay.
And now, of course, we have the opportunity to move the stair and we can put that opening back.
Okay. Okay. And
now it's important, I realize, because you see this house is almost seen in the round. You know, it has such a wide lot on the southwest that and Church Street on the southeast that you don't see the rear from anywhere, but you see the other three sides from everywhere.
Yeah. So the middle section is also historic.
It's certainly historic. 1870 would be historic.
So
yes.
I guess So
The
the,
middle section is composed of two parts. The part built in 1870, which is about 20 feet. And then the part built over a porch. The existing kitchen, it was built in the porch. And then somebody added a second floor. I think I put this picture in my application to show the structure of that second floor.
Yep.
Which is so weak that they can't put anything up there. They can't inhabit that second floor. But what I would like to do is take down that whole 1870 part, rebuild the first 13 feet of it to look identical, and then keep going with that as a two-story structure.
so then we're gonna need a demolition hearing, Robin? Is that right?
I mean, this can't be a demolition hearing.
No.
I think I'm confused.
Robin, are we gonna need a demolition hearing if they're gonna demolish an 18-something part of the structure?
Well, if it's, I'm trying to remember back when Dan was involved in talking about rebuilds, and if it was a rebuild instead of a demolition. And if I recall correctly, again, I know Dan's no longer here and it would be up to Brian. But I think situations like this, what I interpreted originally was it was going to be more of a rebuild, and some of this was going to get left, but now it sounds like it's not going to get left. So if some of it was going to get left, I think Dan was always interpreting that would be like a rebuild, which didn't require a public hearing because it wasn't an actual demolition. But I'm not clear on if that's what's happening anymore from what Arlene just stated. It sounds like that's all going away now.
Well, I don't think I think I can rebuild it better, more easily than I can take what's there and make it work.
But then saying that, then I would say that would be under the classification of a demolition of a contributing structure, which would require a public hearing. That would be my opinion.
So which committee hears that?
Same committee.
Oh, why can't that be this meeting?
Because
the public has to be notified.
Yes, because the code says there's a requirement for a public hearing. And that means the public needs to be put on notice, posting of the property, and then give it a chance for the public to speak for or against the demolition.
And also, Arlene, it wasn't posted, you know, if we.
I hear that. So is the deadline, if I apply for a demolition permit for this part of the house, when is that deadline?
What this would almost be, you could almost say this would use the same application. It's just the commission now would have to set a public hearing for June 3rd. And then your application would be heard just like the first application was.
Yeah, just real quick, I'm just looking at the language in 197-58I. I is in ivory. It's demolition or removal. If the structure or any part thereof is deemed to be contributing and therefore has historic and/or architectural significance, no demolition or removal of the structure from the premises may take place until after a public hearing. And then it goes on to discuss the requirements for posting and advertising and all the rest of it.
Okay, so how long does it have to be posted and advertised?
It would take place at the June 3rd meeting.
It's
It'd be the next soonest time that you could come back with that, Arlene. But let me ask you a question, Arlene, because when I look at the existing survey of the house, and I look at your proposed site plan, you're not increasing the width of that connected sector, but is there a portion, here's my other question though, but is there a portion as you get farther back? Because when I then look at the one elevation shot that you show with some dimensions, I guess there is a portion that you're proposing to remove completely
Right.
from whatever that distance is after the 13 feet, whereas right now
Right.
that runs back 32
It's like 7
feet.
feet or something, right?
Okay, so
Yeah,
there's-
yeah.
yeah, I think that to remove that back section, you would have to have a public hearing.
So,
Unless
and the
you
public
figure out
hearing is
how to
this.
Renovate within it.
This would be the same, this is the public hearing, right? One of these.
This is just a public meeting.
Yeah.
There's different requirements that have to be followed to put it on as a public hearing.
And
All right.
we hold that meeting, Arlene, prior to our actual HPARC meeting. You know, it starts the meeting and then the remaining portion of our agenda takes place post the completion of that
Okay.
meeting,
Okay,
but simultaneously,
okay,
separate, but at the same time.
okay. I got it.
But if you want, since you're here and we have the application, if you want to continue to review it, we can do that, right, Robin?
I don't know if I'd say review, but
We
I think
can,
you could probably do what was done at the first application.
yes, we can talk
I
about it.
don't know if I would go through
Well-
a detailed review of it,
Is there,
Okay,
but I
If
would leave that up
anybody-
to Brian also.
I agree with Robin. I think the better thing to do would be to decide to set the public hearing. I think you would need a motion to do that. And then, Ms. Matzkin can present, the application at the next hearing for approval on the other, items that she would like to have approved for her client.
well, I can't submit that until I get permission to rebuild that middle section.
No,
How can-
you can do
you
them
know.
both at the same time. It'll happen. You'll
But that-
resubmit this whole application, Arlene, but there'll be a public hearing beforehand. Robin can walk you through it.
All right, so the demo and the app for the renovation can be at the same time? That
yes.
seems logical to me.
In June.
We'll
Yeah.
have, we have the demo hearing, we open it, we close it, we have our meeting, we vote on the demo.
Okay,
And then
sounds good.
proceed with the application.
If anybody has any crushing questions, having looked at the application, if you want to flag anything, maybe
I-
flag it now.
I do.
Arlene, this is Phil Franz. I was having a lot of trouble looking at the elevation, wondering what was new and what was existing.
Right.
I didn't know if you could color it or do something.
Well,
so-
the reality, Phil, is that everything behind the initial perfect little house is new.
Oh, okay.
I have to do it that way. I can't make it work otherwise.
Okay, I understand, but
But-
I was just having trouble.
Yeah. So make
It is
clear.
complicated. It's complicated.
It is. All right, so you're saying make it clearer.
Yes. 'Cause
What's
I-
new, what,
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. I assumed you were saving that whole middle section.
yeah. Well, I'm kind of rebuilding the middle section.
Well, then that's not really a demolition then, if you're gonna.
Well, it is though. I mean, it is,
Yeah.
because you have to take it all apart. And I have to put in new foundations. And I like to drop the floor because I have a tall climb.
It's a
Arlene, can you take down one wall, like the east wall, and rebuild it? Then go and take down the west wall and rebuild it. That's
Well,
not.
but Phil, you're an architect. I mean, if if I have to redo
That's
the-
still
I've
that's
done
still a
things like that.
demolition.
Yeah,
By any other name, that's still a demolition.
demolition, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a demolition.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though I'm trying to put back what
Right.
exactly what looks the same. It's
And you're
Yeah,
demoing.
I think it would be beneficial, Arlene, if you were to put, as Phil was saying, if you show clear markings on your
Yeah. Yeah.
to-be built drawing of
Yeah.
where the existing structure is being removed from, because there's 16 and a half feet of it that is absolutely being demolished off of the back of the house. I mean, or
Right.
cut completely off.
Yeah.
I thought you were taking everything away except for the piece that sits on Market Street.
Well, I am kind of, but then I'm trying to put 20 feet of it back that looks identical. I mean,
Right.
Okay, so you're gonna reconstruct, but it's still a new build.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
keep this simple.
Yeah.
Everything is going except for the front.
Except for the front, everything is
Yeah.
going, basically, yeah.
Is the height of the roof at the back end of the house, which will be all new, is that higher than the existing roof?
No, I'm planning that it would be the same roof.
Okay,
The same,
in this drawing, it appears to be higher, so you might just want to look at that. That is your sheet.
it is, Barbara, it's higher now.
I know.
Wait a minute. If you look at the picture from the front,
Yeah, I know it dips in. It's a little dip.
there's you can see the roof peeking over.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I know that. I just think on this one side elevation where you have the new door and the fireplace, it just looks like it's drawn higher than that. So you might want to check it. That's all. And also the, on the Church Street side, of course, it's broken up the way you've, broken up the different spaces. On the southeast elevation, it just looks like this long, scale-wise, it's
southeast.
Yes, that's this.
Oh.
Southwest.
Southwest.
Oh, southwest. Sorry, I read it wrong. Southwest. So it's
Right.
You've got the old house, which looks really now dwarfed by this huge extension out the back.
Well, it's the same length as it is now.
Because
except that,
but it's
except
not.
that
It's not one single roof. It bumps in and out. According to the site plan. According to the site plan, it jogs in and out. It
No,
doesn't.
just with the porch. It's just a single story lower
the
porch.
porch is there now. The porch is going to be in exactly the same place.
Yeah, I know, but in the existing site plan, it obviously jumps in and out. And so the new drawing.
No, yeah.
And the proportions are,
Look, the difference is in the back, it's a 2-story part. That's new. You know what I mean? Now that roof goes down in the back where there's a 1-story living room with a gable roof.
Yeah.
Can I offer one other thought, Arlene, which is when looking down that southeast side, I mean, it's great the way that, you have the longer, for lack of a better term, almost salt box-esque roof lines coming down on each side of that dormer, but the flat roof dormer relative to the Gothic front is a little challenging to square up. So you might just want to, I understand the challenge, but it just might be, it might be a bump in the road for you and Susan and Chip is just too thought.
You think that flat roof dormer, I mean, best seen in this little sketch, right?
Yep.
I was trying to soften that 2-story part.
Understood. I mean, I don't know whether the walls, I know Chip's tall, so maybe shorter walls on the outside don't work, but it's out of rhythm and scale.
Well, actually, it is with itself, but this is across Church Street.
But it's not on that house.
See, and that's a massive house, 2 stories all the way.
Yep.
And that's what's, and what we're dealing with here is that frontispiece, the little Carpenter Gothic house, is petite. That's our problem here. It's like we got a petite house and I'm trying to join up a regular scale house to it.
Well, yeah, it's challenging, but you know how to do that. You've done that before. And we've seen other applications that have come in. You know, last month we had several applications for large additions, and because there was a lot of movement going on and ins and outs, it ended up with the feel and scale of, you know, smaller.
Well, I think that's what I was hoping this shit, that sloping roof did.
Now, which elevation are you on? The one that
I'm
faces-
looking at the perspective.
Southeast side.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm looking
That
at.
one. That's what I was hoping this did.
I think it does. I think that side does. I just think the other side looks like it's the opposite side that just, you know, doesn't
Well,
have.
what you don't see is this is a little shed roof that drops down over part of the living room.
Okay.
Which breaks up the
Well,
facade.
yeah, and I think from the street level, you know, we're looking at this face on like a bird. And so,
I maybe I should make a model that we take pictures of, you know, that we can look at in 3 dimensions. Because Randy's, I think he's saying this whole thing is too massive.
what are the dimensions on it compared to the old, the front house? I mean,
Well, the front house is very, it's like 14 feet wide, but 30 feet long. I mean, somewhere in there, 30 feet long and 14 feet wide. So this, you know, I'm trying to keep the heights. I'm trying to keep this relationship of the middle section to the front section just as it was, to get, I want the light in those windows to the front, you know, and
right.
that little neck.
Well, that little recess you've got is 13.6, so that's kind of nice. That continues that proportion of the width of the
right,
front
and
half.
that's where
And-
the entrance
and
would be.
you get to that extension on the back. Yeah, I don't know. Arlene.
But somehow I have to get the living parts in, you know?
Right. Yeah, I don't know whether you turn and have another gable there. You just change the roof all around.
Ugh.
I know.
Well,
You do that
well-
well. Remember the last one you were here?
I did.
So the house of many gables?
Yes, I know that, yes.
Well,
Wouldn't
we're giving you feedback, which is what you asked for.
Yeah, I know.
You can sort of jump out at us and
yeah,
and then you can do what
work on it.
You can do what you like. Yes.
Well, I hear you. It's a
Okay.
toughie.
Yes, it is. It is.
I want, you know, they don't want to, they're not going to do this unless they can live in a house that provides for their needs, you know?
Yeah, I agree. That's what they need to do.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So
It wouldn't be uncommon to see 2 petite, tall, Gothic dormers in, you know, that then are tied together with a flat spot, you know, that might tie that side together, Arlene, and keep it more in the vernacular. That's the more visible side of that house, Church Street, right? The long side in the yard, you hardly see that.
Yeah, you don't see the yard.
Even
side.
when you're,
Yeah.
you know, coming from the hospital, but
Right.
it has such a presence on the street. And then when it becomes that the eave line is 22 feet straight up wall on the street, it's you know, it's much different than the house behind it. And I understand that the old Lehman's Market and Steve Rogers' old house has that long flat eave line, but that was an old industrial building back in the day too, then converted to a store and a residence.
So my eave line is probably about 18 feet. Yeah, okay. Well, okay, I hear what you're saying.
Thank you, Arlene.
Yeah, thanks for the time.
Are we all set, Robin, for Arlene will be on the agenda for next month.
You gotta make a motion. You gotta make a
Yeah,
motion.
Madam Chair, I think you need to make a motion.
For the hearing portion?
Yes.
Okay. I need a motion to put a hearing for the demolition of the back end of 330 Market Street, portion of the rear of 330 Market Street to be demolished. We need a hearing for that on the agenda for next month.
Need
Somebody
a
make
motion to set a date for the public hearing for the demolition of the contributing portion to 330 Market Street.
Yes, and that's going
So
to
moved.
be, yes, and that will be on June 3rd.
So Robin will tell me my deadline, right?
Was there a
10
second?
Somebody
10
make a
days
motion,
prior
I'll
to the
second.
meeting.
Second.
10 working days prior to the meeting.
I'll find out. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and we have a second, right?
Yes.
What's
Okay,
the date, Barbara?
June 3rd. And we'll start the hearing at the same time we always start, which will be 6. And as soon as we finish, we'll continue with the HPARC meeting.
Is that a
there a vote?
Thursday?
That should be a Thursday, correct?
Yes, because we've
Yeah.
changed the meetings to the first Thursday.
Right.
Okay.
Has there been a vote yet?
Demolition applications on that day.
Correct.
Right.
I'm still
Yes.
here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay.
Bill, do you approve the setting of the public hearing?
Yes, I approve it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we didn't give Bill an opportunity to question or make a comment. Sorry about that.
One real quick, just real quick.
Okay.
I have heartburn with doing anything to that contributing part. I had no problem with 1980 taking that out, but when you get into that contributing part, that's a beautiful home. It's one of my favorite in Lewis, and I'm telling you, I think we got to work around that. So my feelings are, I just thought you'd want to hear them, and I just don't like that. That's 1870. I think the front's what, 1840, and that second part is 1870.
Right.
I have problems.
What was that? I'm sorry, I missed.
I have problems with demolishing that 1870 portion or any part thereof it.
Who's talking now? I just.
Bill Landon, the commission member.
Okay. Okay. Oh, all right. Well, I hear you. But is it ever done? I mean,
It sounds like a large portion of that is uninhabitable from what I read.
yeah, yes, it is.
So,
You know, you look underneath, and the Lewis Presbyterian Church had the same type of rig. We didn't tear the church building down.
Okay.
I guess I've said enough.
No, I think the point is that we have fought to save historic houses, and it hasn't been easy for the homeowner, but they bought a historic house and they knew it was historic and they knew it would be challenging, and they had plans to do an extensive remodel or additions. And that's part of owning an old, wonderful historic house.
Yeah.
You buy into that, so.
Madam Chair, all the details of this can be brought out at the public hearing and at the
Yes.
meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, Robin. Yeah.
Madam Chair, we have somebody with their hand up that I don't have a name. I'm going to allow to speak.
Regarding what?
Whether I got a question.
Maybe it's the owner. Susan?
Maybe. Says, can I
Susan?
ask some questions?
Yes.
Does somebody have their hand up?
Yes.
Yes, it was me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
And who are you?
Hi, I'm Susan Ritter. I'm the owner of the house.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Great.
Nice to meet you.
We love your house.
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, I didn't purchase the house. I was born and raised in this house. My parents bought it in 1970. And I can definitely attest to the fact that it's hard, it's very hard to live in. very hard. My kitchen is 10 feet wide. And the room above it, like Arlene has mentioned a couple times, we can't even use it. The floor is so unstable, and this whole middle section is so wonky. I'm trying to wrap my head around how, I mean, it just, for it to work, I mean, it just needs to be rebuilt. And I don't understand why it's a demo if it's being rebuilt to look exactly the same.
I think it's the process. I mean, if the building stays intact and you remove things and then rebuild it and basically, I guess, hold on to the exterior walls, then it's a rebuild. If you level it all the way to the ground and then build a new structure that looks just like it, and it's a replica.
If I may, I think what might help the argument at the demolition hearing is to present evidence or expert testimony or whatever you want to call it about the unusableness of the middle structure. It sounds almost like you're entering into condemnation territory from what I've read. And
Well, certainly,
that, of course, would be a different.
I don't know how much more evidence there could be. We put pictures underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And that's all good. We're not debating that tonight. I just think that if when making the case at the demolition hearing next month, which is public, so you have people, your neighbors, whatever, come and but if in that you had some testimony from someone who could, state that this is, an outside opinion that this house is uninhabitable. I mean, that section is uninhabitable. I think would strengthen your argument for demolition. I don't think anybody's making a decision here and now, yes or no. I would go with that and present a good argument.
No. Well,
yeah, okay. I have another question.
Yes.
So just hypothetically speaking, if we were to leave the middle section that was built in the 1870s,
yes,
and then tear off the kitchen, which based on my research, what is now the kitchen used to be a porch, a back porch. And based on my research, it was enclosed in the early 1950s.
Okay.
And then the second story was put above it. And then my parents put on the very back part of the house in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
It's one story with a vaulted ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
So would taking off the 1950s kitchen and the 1980s rear addition be considered a demolition?
Yes, but those two sections would not be considered contributing.
Okay.
So we would not need a hearing.
Okay.
Well, in addition, I would suggest, Susan, that you and Arlene really look at how much of this actually has to be demo, because it's going to be delicate what has to be demo, but with the proper allocation of renovations and additions to the existing structure and the architecture that makes that all work together, I think you got a winning plan. But it's a matter of the path to get there. And it's not, as we talked about earlier, it's not about you or your property specifically. It's to prevent things like when I look out my window, and although the rebuilt Farmers Bank building is fabulous, one of the most significant architectural structures in this city sat on that property until 1964 when they tore it down. And that's why we have HPARC, to try to stop beautiful buildings like you own from somebody else who maybe is a little more cavalier about it.
I understand that.
Any other questions? No? No more?
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Hope to see
Arlene.
you next month. Anything else, Robin? Okay. Thank you, Arlene. You did a great
Yeah,
job.
you're
All right.
I don't think you actually voted on that. I think you had a motion and a second, but maybe I missed it.
Yeah, we
We
voted.
called the vote.
There was a vote.
Okay, gotcha.
Called the
Okay.
vote.
Passed.
Thank you. Sorry.
So it'll just depend whether you'll have to meet with Arlene, and if they figure out that they can just remove the newer sections, then we will not need a demolition hearing,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Correct. But as of right now, the way it's set up is we have to do it because of how it's presented right now.
Mhm.
Correct,
The information.
correct. And if that changes, we'll change.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Arlene.
Thank you all. I'm stopping the video. There, I'm off.
Good.
I'm muting. No, I won't mute.
Well, yeah, you can listen. Yeah. So our next one is, find my, seem to have lost my agenda here. Too many papers here.
Okay, we're moving forward to the next application.
156 Kings Highway.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have all my notes on my agenda though. Okay, let's 156 Kings Highway. Would somebody read the rest of the description? George?
Sure. Application regarding the property located at 156 King Highway, tax map number 335-8.11-56.00. To whitewash the brick, remove the 2 front lower windows and replace with 3 new front windows or front door, new front portico, and remove the vinyl siding and replace with lap.
Okay. Hi.
Hello. First, we want to say thank you, Bonnie, for all your years of hard work and service to the city of Lewis.
Yes.
And so second off, Justin and I spent a lot of time driving around Lewis, renovating houses in our head. And luckily for us, they manifest with homeowners calling us.
Right. So that's worked out well.
And this is one of them. So Justin and I had our eyes on this house for quite some time. Every time we'd go by, we were like, here's what we do to it. So luckily for us, Patty and Chris called us and said, hey, we want you guys to renovate the exterior of our house. So we said, oh, great, because we already have great ideas.
Right.
So when this house was built, they built this addition on, and they didn't step it back. So the house is very linear. And what we're trying to do is give it a little bit more dimension. So our idea is to take off those 2 front windows and turn them into bay windows. And it does a couple of things, certainly for the clients. They wanted a little more light in that part of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 windows is better than 1.
Just the one single.
Our pretty little watercolor isn't a true rendition of the house, but it's close. Yeah. So let's start with the left side, which is that addition. We're going to take off that vinyl shake siding. That's kind of, not sure what that color is. We're going to replace it with a the LP lap siding.
Smart side.
The smart side, painted white. The windows are actually the same. We're not redoing anything with the windows. We're taking off the shutters, which are incorrect, and putting black window boxes on each level. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then on the right-hand side, taking out each of those flanking windows on the first floor, turning them into bay windows. So we've got the bigger window in the middle. You'll see with the Anderson
400.
400 layout. It's a 9/9. Is it a 9/9?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And then 6.
And then the sides are 6/6, and that's because we need to get the mullions to line up. Okay. The front door is a little bit different than what this rendition. This rendition shows side lights, and it shows a half glass. And for our purposes, will be no side lights and full glass. The porch gone will be those pillars, and that how it feels kind of narrow. That entryway feels really narrow. We're going to open that up and do a little bit bigger portico on the top, which you can see there's a picture showing kind of what our plan is with corbels instead of pillars.
And black metal.
And black metal
standing
seam on all those three roofs. And then up top, those windows, gone will be the plastic shutters and wood shutters in their place with proper hardware.
And whitewashing the brick.
And then the gutters, the white just stands out just a little bit too much, and we're gonna do the half round in black is our plan at the moment. Kind of what we did, like we did on the 308 Pilot Town Roadhouse. Questions?
That's quite a transformation.
Yes, yeah.
We think so.
It's gonna be beautiful.
You know, we like a transformation.
I know you do. I'm just gonna start. I know Bill, I don't want to miss out on Bill. So if he's there, I'm gonna let him ask questions first so we don't, since we.
Hi, Bill.
Is Bill still there? Robin? Okay. Bill, do you want to ask any questions?
Robin, you're on mute.
Robin, you're on mute.
We're good.
Okay.
We're good. Go, Bill.
Hear me? Okay, great. I've often looked at this house from my trip down Kings Highway, and I said, who's gonna give it a little loving care there? And I see what you're trying to do. You spent a lot of time in this design, but when I look at this house now, I'm just providing comments, right, Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm just providing comments. We're not going to vote on it tonight.
Yes,
We are going to vote on it.
there's an opportunity to vote tonight.
Okay.
Reason not to.
Okay. Let me go on. I don't get a chance to speak much. That the original house itself, and this is me looking at it, says to me, look over there to the left of that new addition and get after it, because it doesn't mesh with the existing house at all. And maybe that's what you were trying to do in reconfiguring this. But I've often looked at it and I've said the first thing you need to do is bring that roof line on the left in line with what you've got in the original structure. Mm-hmm. That would help a lot. I really like that you're going with shiplap. That's good. Don't know about those shutters being taken down. I know what you mean by your comment that you can't get a shutter on each side of the window, but you got shutters over on the right-hand side, and I don't think that's a problem with leaving them there. As far as the bay windows in the front on the original house, I struggle with that. I think leaving the original house is what you would try to do in historic preservation. You want to try to keep the character of the house in place as much as you possibly can. And in this case, I know you're trying to make it nice and make it a showcase, but from a historic preservation standpoint, I would not do that. I would leave the old existing house in place, and I would go after that addition, because that's probably the worst addition in Lewis.
Okay, so thank you for your comments, Bill. We have spent a lot of time researching brick colonial houses. Unfortunately, for whoever built this addition on the side, it sort of is what it is at this point. So our goal is to create
Kind of make it disappear.
And create a little more drama on the right-hand side, so your eye is drawn to the main structure of the house and not that kind of wonky addition on the left-hand side.
Okay,
in
then
terms
I'll
of changing
my comments, I'll say basically don't touch the right. Make your adjustments to the left, and that's kind of where I stand.
Okay.
This is Phil Franz. The rendering is impressive and your description is impressive, but do you have a drawing that has all of this, front elevation of the house that has all of these things noted? So we have something to vote on?
It's in your packet. It's the hand-drawn,
I have the packet, but I don't have any rendering.
You have a rendering? You have a rendering.
Yeah, I have the rendering, but I don't have a drawing.
Page 3 after the photos.
Yeah, there's a left elevation and a front elevation. So the left elevation kind of shows you how far the portico and the bay windows come out from the front, gives you dimensions on there. And the front elevation has some notations on it.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
Pardon my drawing.
You know, some of your applications have had some really nice drawings.
This is a fairly simple renovation for us. So, you know, our architect was a little bit busy.
Right.
So everybody's a little swamped at the moment. So this is, Robin told us we could draw it.
Right.
I'm throwing you under the bus, Robin.
It really, I'm looking at the front elevation right now. It really doesn't tell all the story that you just went through. I mean, it's not complete.
Well, what are you
looking
for?
The steps, are the steps staying? Are those steps there?
They are. The steps are there. Yep, we can see it in the actual picture.
And they're staying.
They are correct. Mm-hmm.
Could you say that? Is this a new front door, or is it an existing front door?
I guess maybe you didn't make your way through the whole packet, but there's a new front door in the packet. So we've added every detail. From what our understanding is, all the details have to be in here. We've included the shutters, the windows, the siding, the shutter boxes,
the picture
the picture of the railings, the picture of the.
I have all of that, but it doesn't. I mean, it's all pieces. Do you have a rendering of the front that puts all of this together?
No, they don't. They don't, Phil.
Well, I don't know what else you would.
What else needs to be on that?
Who's that?
Well, no, it's it would be a drawing. It would be an elevation drawing of the front.
Well, isn't that what that is?
This
The drawing that I did.
Well,
it's not to scale. It's not completely dimensioned, and you've got some of the windows are the way you drew them are like different, different panes, quantity of panes of glass.
So each client has to go and to spend lots of money on architectural drawings. I didn't know that was a prerequisite.
Well, in the checklist.
Yep, in the checklist, and this was asked in the checklist.
Yeah,
so,
the checklist.
We're not trying to spend our clients' money, on things that we didn't think that was necessary. But I guess I'm
going to answer your question, Steph.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to answer your question. Please. Okay, the second checkbox, which is checked: drawings, plans, and elevations of the proposed change, construction, alteration, and modifications drawn to scale and dimensioned. The drawings do not have to be prepared by a professional, but must provide enough information to explain the proposed project and be reviewed by HPARC and the building official. So this is a very rough sketch.
Well, what else would you require on an elevation?
To scale.
To scale.
A drawing
to scale. Scaled. I don't know how much more it couldn't be scaled. And and then if you look on the left elevation, I've written in dimensions on them, on how how far everything comes out.
This is just a rough sketch. It's not a drawing to scale. It isn't.
You've submitted the last submission. You came before HPARC. The drawing was all to scale and dimensioned.
Well, it was a huge renovation.
This is a very minor renovation.
And there's the dimensions are on here. How wide the windows are, how wide the house is, how wide the addition is, notations on you know, 6-inch wood trim, lap siding. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't-
It's perfectly scaled. I actually, the first time I drew this, I traced it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, it's
I mean-
proportioned.
Do you consider it accurate? Is it
I'm
accurate?
sorry?
Do you consider it accurate?
100%.
Okay, so then in the upstairs window, you've got some windows are, I guess they're all 6/6, right? No, they're 9/9, correct? On the second floor?
6/6.
Well, they're drawn,
9/9.
they're drawn
Some.
9/9.
Okay.
That's 6.
Some are 6/6 and some are 9/9.
Okay, well, I mean, I actually didn't put all this in there just for one, these are existing.
They're not changing.
Nothing's changing about it. And Robin asked me to put those lines there just
No.
for this purpose as well, just so you guys could see, but those aren't changing. I mean, we can make a note for the record to say that all the windows existing are 6/6. I mean, there's the, you know, everything for what the new windows are going to be.
Is only where you convert.
I think you need to do a drawing to scale.
When you say scale, I don't understand what you mean, because scale is basically the size of something in relation to something else. And this is exactly just scale.
And the whole
It's a
thing.
Scale drawing, you can take a scale, an architectural scale, and you can measure it. And I can, you know, if there's no dimension, I know, you know, the size of something because I can measure it with an
Well,
architectural
it's written
scale.
on there.
So the only thing that's actually changing in this, on this house, other than the siding and adding real wood shutters, are those two.
And the
side
bay
windows.
windows.
And the 2 bay windows and the front door.
And the,
Yes.
correct.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change the scale. It's the same size front door.
And how
Madam
about the
Chair,
roof?
do you have
The roof
But
and
is-
the-
an order for comment?
Yes, George.
Are we all just jumping in, or
No,
do you
George.
have?
No, George. It's your turn.
Oh, all right, my turn. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that this change is mostly cosmetic. I mean, you're not, the window sizes are remaining the same, are they not? You're not knocking out part of the wall to make a bigger window entry, right?
Well, the bay windows will be bigger. We'll have
Will
to
be
be
wider.
cutting, they'll be a wider from there, because we'll have to cut into the brick to make everything work for between the inside and the outside.
And you have those dimensions are on.
There's a window paper in there for the size of all the windows.
Yeah, the sides of the windows are all in here.
In your packet, yep.
Right. So, I mean, I get it. And I think that, in my opinion, the design is an improvement over what is currently the status. And it all just kind of ties together. So I get it. This also too, this is a non-contributing structure.
Correct.
So, I might have a different opinion if it was contributing, but I think that the cosmetic changes that you proposed here are very nice. I think it's going to vastly improve the look of the front. You're really not doing anything else to the sides or the rear. So I'm in favor of what you're proposing here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask another size question? In the cut sheet, your bay windows are 36 wide by 60 inches tall, but your delightful sketch, of course, doesn't look like it's a 60-inch, a 5-foot high window.
Well, I would refer to the elevation more than the sketch.
I mean, you see what we're trying to accomplish, right? So it's
But that
similar
doesn't
to
look-
the house.
That doesn't look like a 5-foot high window either. Is that 5 foot high?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it changes the look of that, you know, because it would come down. Wouldn't it come down a lot longer if it's 5 feet high?
Yeah, the windows on the first floor are slightly larger than the windows on the second floor.
Right.
And they will stay that, they will remain that way, correct? So what we're trying to accomplish is similar to what that house on Savannah Road. You know, it's got the bay windows on the front and it just gives it a little bit more dimension. So there's the larger window in the middle and then the smaller windows on the side that create that kind of.
Okay, one last window question. Is all the windows are double hung except the bay window?
No, they're all double hung. All three of those windows are double hung.
Really?
Oh, right, okay.
No, these are casements.
Oh, made to look like double.
Yeah,
Excuse
they're
me.
casements with a check rail to make them look like double hung. For a couple reasons, is especially like if you think about a window over top of your sink is usually a casement because it's easier for you to reach over and crank it.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to this here, you'd have to reach into the area to crank them to open them. Plus they give better air, but they look exactly like a double hung.
Well, they don't really look exactly like it, but they mimic a double hung because there's several of those windows and even on Savannah Road. And when you drive by, you can see the contrast of the double hungs in the same elevation, but it's a good mimic. So
Did you say that the second floor windows are the same size as the first floor bay windows?
No, they're smaller.
Only the two bay windows are changing. All the other windows stay existing windows, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
They're existing windows or the replacement windows in existing openings?
Existing windows.
They're
not changing.
What's going to be
No change to the
now.
windows.
It's the same size as what's there now.
They're not. We're not replacing
touching
them. We're not doing anything to them. Those are the windows that are there now are going to stay.
And the shutters?
New
The
shutters.
shutters, we're going to have wood shutters. If you look back at all the details that are in our packet, it says that the shutters will be taken. The plastic shutters are taken off. They'll be wood
With hardware,
with hardware.
Shutter stays?
not the plastic. The plastic gets removed.
I didn't say it's plastic. I just asked if they were shutter stays. Are they
Stays, not staying.
Yes, they'll have shutter dogs and the shutter, the brackets, the hinges as well.
Are those light fixtures next to the front door? Is there trim around the front door?
Yes, that's also in your packet.
Yeah.
Do you see the light? There's a whole diagram that has, right now it has fluted trim around the front door, which is a little too decorative for the house. So that's going to come off and it's going to be replaced with a more traditional colonial trim. And these are the lights fixtures that we'll be getting to go on either side of the door. You see that, Phil?
Yeah, I see it. I wish this drawing were more complete.
Did you?
Are the front steps are staying?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, could you put the words there that say existing stairs to remain?
They're not changing.
They're not changing though. So we let you know everything that's changing.
So on the drawing, could you explain that they're not changing? Existing stairs to remain.
Okay.
All right.
Can we make that for the record?
And the railing stays, I guess.
No, the railing does not stay.
That is a new railing and it's in your packet on what it is.
Okay, so we had to go through the packet and put this whole front elevation together. Could you do a drawing that is complete?
Phil.
Yes.
Phil.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to move on. Michael's has his hand up.
Yeah, I would just like to state that I agree with George as well. The fact that this is a non-contributing structure, it is on a main thoroughfare. And I think that the proposed whitewashing of the brick softens the structure. The introduction of the bay windows does parallel windows that exist on a colonial revival on Savannah Road. The metal roof over the bay windows also is similar to treatment of bays here in town. I like the addition of the glass door, the multi-pane glass door. You see many of those along Kings Highway and Savannah Road, and even my house has one as well. and as Stephanie mentioned as well, I do like the less busy approach to the entryway. I think that the portico is a nice addition. And I was very, very pleased to see that for the newer addition that was added on there, the removal of the vinyl shake, which was not very attractive currently, replacing that with the lap siding, I think will contribute to a better cohesion among the street view. And I think that the addition too of the workable shutters on the second floor with hinges and dog legs is a nice touch. So I can see this as sort of a nominal kind of renovation, but I think all in all, as a pedestrian or an individual driving down the street, I think that it'll really sort of spiff up the house and make it an attractive addition to the streetscape.
Thank you, Michael.
That's just
Thank you.
me.
Joe, did you want to make any comments?
No, I think this is definite improvement to an existing house. I realize it's not contributing, but it's a house that needs a little help right now.
Yes, needs a little love.
Thank you,
Randy, Randy, you have any comments? Your mic's off, Randy. Your mic is off. Randy, you can't hear you. Thank you.
Barbara, I hear you. I hear you.
Okay. I know. I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I understand, but it takes a second to do it. I echo all the things that Michael and George and Joe have said. I think that the rendering does a great job of describing what's going to happen here. I think this is a tired the 1970s was not a good era for architecture. It was not a good era for architecture.
Agreed.
When some of the worst buildings in the whole world were built. And then I think that I was just out of high school and Phil Fitch or somebody put that addition on the left side, and they took a really bad house and made it even worse. And, this, I think it's great. I think it'll look beautiful. I think that for all of the reasons that the other people are in favor of it, it's something that we should vote in the affirmative for. I think that some of that back and forth of confusion might be able to be helped by, us in our documents. This is just for edification for the panel, making more clear. We have had in there, and we've talked about this, that you can do hand sketches. And I think as things get more complicated and get more subjective, and there's so many other materials that are out there that can be used, that we do the body and the applicant a disservice by saying that that can be done. I get this is a small renovation. I wouldn't want to spend my money on having to have an architect draw up drawings for it. But I think that as the panel takes more heat for the positions we take, we might want to make everybody have a consistent set of drawings. This is not about Stephanie. This is not about Justin. This is not about any applicant tonight. This is a general statement. I think it's a winning design, but that's what I got.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
I just want to go back to the roof that Bill Landon had mentioned. I know you don't want to deal with that, but should your client be at all interested, I think that really would help that house tremendously. You would just basically mimic the existing roof, and it would slide underneath because that addition is just set back a hair.
They just put a brand new metal roof on the house, so I don't think they are interested in changing the roof line at this point.
Is that a flat roof or near flat roof?
It's a low pitch.
I didn't think you could can you put a metal roof on that lower pitch? I guess so. Okay.
You would put metal on it on a lower pitch than you would versus shingles, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, our main goal was to make the main structure of the house the focal point.
And you did. And you did.
Thank
No,
you.
it has real good curb appeal, and it was very obvious that was the goal, and I think you did a smashing job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If we can somebody make a motion?
Make a motion that the application be approved for the property at, let me pull all the files back up, at 156 Kings Highway. This is a non-contributing structure built in the 1970s. I believe that the additions and renovations to the outside of it complement the rhythm and scale of the neighborhood, and thereby it should be approved as submitted.
Okay, have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do we have to go around? We do? Okay. I'll
Yes,
start
almost
with,
over.
and Michael, do you want to start with your reason for your vote,
Sure.
please?
Sure, because this particular submission is a non-contributing structure in the Lewis Historical District and conforms to the rhythm and scale of the streetscape. I move to approve as submitted.
Thank you. Randy?
For the reasons stated in the motion, and also as a continuation of the encouragement of quality and historic-minded restorations within the city historic district, I vote to approve this application.
Thank you. Joe?
For the reasons previously stated, I vote to approve this. It'll be a definite improvement.
Okay. Phil? Oops, I lost Phil. Where'd he go?
Yes.
Oh, there you are.
Based on the rendering, which I thought was a great improvement on the house, I wished that the presentation of the drawing was more complete, but I will vote to approve.
Thank you. And is Bill still here?
Yes.
I'm still here, yes. It's non-contributing structure. They're making every attempt to use materials like lathing, getting rid of plastic, and they're kind of with that whitewashing of the brick. I've always closed my eyes when I ride around there. So now maybe if we go along with this, I'll open them up a little bit. I think we're trying to make an improvement for them as well.
Don't wreck your bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wear
Thank
your
you.
helmet.
Yeah.
George?
Yeah, I absolutely love the changes that you're making, and I think it's going to vastly improve the look of the house with the rest of the street. So I applaud your changes,
Thank
your
you.
design, and vote in favor.
Thank you.
And I too vote to approve and think it's a great creative solution, as you said, to a house that, or somebody said that a house just really needed some love. It's consistent with the materials that we've approved in the past. It's going to, be great for the streetscape, and I think it'd be great. So
Thank you all.
Mhm. And I think that's all, right?
All
All right.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
Yeah,
You
take care.
too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So next we have unfinished business. So first one is D1, update discussion possible action on resurvey of the historic district, phase 1 through 5, 6, 7. All those different phases have been sent to everyone. They're still as we receive them each year. So they haven't been sort of collated or merged together the way the city's talking about doing. I don't know whether they've started any of that or not. But it needs to be done, because I went looking for the houses on, and I found them, but then I couldn't print the single page out. So I don't know if anybody else tried to do that as well. Yeah, you did too, Michael?
And could I also just add something here? I don't know how much leeway or how much input or what I noticed is there's a great bit of discrepancy from the way that the presentations go from one edition to the next. In some cases, the individual submissions state outright that the structure is contributing or non-contributing. In others, you have to read through the entire individual submission, and it's not clear. And then the other thing I noticed is that the first survey seems to be much tighter, and it includes an appendix, as do several of the others, that are multi-pages that give the CRS number and then the address and what have you. But at least one, if not two of them, don't have a similar chart, sort of as a quick and ready reference. So, and then the other thing is that I've noticed that even like, this is just from, my personal home here, the information that's contained is not what I know to be accurate based upon my research of Sanborn maps and going over to Georgetown to the recorder of deeds and what have you. So I was just wondering what sort of input the public will have in this whole process.
Well, the way it was planned and talked about is that as soon as they are downloaded on the city's website and people can access them, then they can also, there can be some instruction on if you find any errors in your property or a property you're familiar with, to notify the city. Because we, I mean, unless you wanted to, it just seemed massive for us to take each year. Now, the reason there are a few years, I forget how many years, Robin, I think you were not here for the beginning of the surveys, is that correct?
I was here from year one.
Okay, so when Elaine was chair, there were several years that it was requested not to put contributing and non-contributing. I didn't agree with that. Robin didn't agree with it, but it was a chair decision, and there was other conversations about that. I think it ended up not working as well, but I've talked to them about trying to rectify that. And I think you can actually, we can probably compare those years to the old surveys that we're currently still working on, and maybe make some judgment calls with consultation with Chad. They don't change to non-contributing too quickly. It either has to be demolished, or there has to be no signs left of the historic house, or something pretty extreme. At that time, when the surveys were brand new, people were getting some people were getting very upset that their house that they thought they had maintained well and put on these wonderful additions that should never have been on the house, and then found out their house is non-contributing. So it was a decision, well intended, but maybe, in hindsight's not going to help us out so much. But I think we can work on that.
Okay.
I also thought, anytime you do peruse through them, and I don't know if anybody has suggestions on how we might divide that up, is that just make some notes, if you can, as to what the corrections should be. I found just one the other day that it was more, it wasn't even grammar. It was like when they typed the same sentence twice, or a portion of it or something, just very correctable. But and then also over the time frame, different people have worked on these surveys. I think there was just 1 year, I believe, Robin, where they were having some grad students who they actually had to go back and redo some of those. And so now it's all done by the senior staff, like Kate Morrissey and her associates.
Yep, my recollection is they had 1 year that was just not good.
Yeah, I think it was the grad students or the other.
I've sort of noticed too in some of these summary charts where if you dig deeper and you see that the building was built, say, in 1999, But then you go to the chart and it's reflected on the chart as being contributing. So
Yeah, well, that.
312 Market Street.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's interesting. I just.
Well, please keep a running list, Michael.
Yeah, I started, and there's quite, I just was wondering how much, flexibility we have and whether the bills have been paid or, and whether they'd be receptive to some edits,
I think they'll be very receptive. Because I've sent them things periodically. And for instance, the update on the barn, I sent that off to them. And I sent them the updates for the Kindle restaurant. And it's a long process for the university, to submit everything to SHPO, and then SHPO has more stuff to do than time. So we've never gotten those updates back, but I'll have to get out my annoying and just start calling, or maybe I'll have you call, Michael. So, okay. Anything else about the surveys? The only thing else I know about this last one, we're still waiting to be passed back down to us from the state historic office. So Kate Morrissey from University of Delaware, from Chad, she was down here last week. They were, appears, it looks like they needed to redo a couple photographs when they started to put things together. It wasn't, they were missing a few photographs. And I'm gonna try and go through this pretty quick. D2 is update on Preservation Delaware, PDI. They have available all their workshops that they've been doing one every other month, and they have them available on their website. I'm going to try and go on sometime this week and just check it out to see if, just to see whether or not there's any glitches there or not. I have gone on when I couldn't make one of the workshops, and they're really quite good. I thought maybe I could put together a list of all the workshops they've had, and I'll just share it with you anyway. Let's see. We have discussion and possible action on the revisions to the HPARC application checklist, and everybody has a copy of that. And I think this is as we've seen tonight, this is challenging. I think is there an echo? Is that my voice? Is that my voice?
Blood speaking.
It's because Bill's on the phone.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look through this. It was included in the packet. I know Michael and Phil worked on it months ago. So my concern is when we have a very simple applicant, such as the first one we had tonight, there's a lot of stuff here that would seem to me not that it's unnecessary, it's just burdensome. And I think we should ask for what we need, but we shouldn't insist on having all of this for every single applicant that comes in. And I understand what Randy had pointed out. There should be some consistency, and we should have standards that are easy to follow and explained so that we don't have conflicts. But I just would like some other thoughts.
I like it. It's very complete. It has to cover all bases, and it's just, it's just not everybody fits into this mold. I mean, we have some very minor changes, and we have total redos that this would apply to, but it's needed.
Mm-hmm. George, you have any thoughts on this?
No, I think you all did a great job. Yeah, I agree with everything that's on here.
Mhm.
So,
And how do we deal with when we have an applicant that just has, basically minor things, but major impact?
well, in terms of their presentation,
Yes.
well, for example, I mean, there seemed to be a lot of discussion about that drawing or that rendering in the last application.
Mhm.
But it was all there. And so creating a standard where everyone has to get an architectural drawing may not be feasible. Plus also, I don't know whether it was Bonnie quoted the, what is it, the ordinance, or maybe you did.
I did.
Where it says
Yeah.
that may be a hand drawing or.
It just says that it doesn't have to be done by a professional.
Right. So I
does-
think that we need to, stick with that. But
But the current checklist does say that it needs to be drawn to scale and dimensioned.
Right. Well, yeah, that particular rendering probably wasn't to scale, but they did have the measurements in there. So, I mean, I just don't know how we could be that strict, but I'll go wherever the majority goes on this. I'm fine with it.
Michael, you worked on this with Phil.
Well, I think somewhere along the line when the application is submitted, there has to be some sort of value judgment in terms of the level of detail. And again, I think it some of the stuff is clearly not applicable,
right.
And that could be noted in the checklist. I don't know. I think the key thing that I wanted to try and incorporate, and Phil want to incorporate into, I think as well, is the fact that we're not sort of acting on our own sort of instinct or urges, that we are, it references the city code, and it references the Secretary of the Interior standards as being part of the whole criteria we use. I think in terms of the boxes, it's basically what we've been using for forever. The seventh tick box, though, I sort of incorporated into the upper paragraph and to the lower. So I don't know. I'd be interested to hear on other people's take as well. The whole three-dimensional drawing recommendation, we've seen that, or the model, we've seen that from time to time, depending upon the complexity.
Right. Arlene even mentioned that.
And I know Brenda, remember another designer, she's done it before. It's been very helpful. But whether it would be necessary for, I don't think it would be necessary for every submission, as we've all sort of stated.
It's expensive.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to overburden the public, but at the same time, we want to have enough information which to go by to make informed decisions based on the ordinance.
Right.
Michael, I agree with that we get enough information so we know what we're voting on. That last submission had different size windows. Are we going to have, are we going to be surprised finding a larger window next to a smaller window? I'm not saying that is really going to happen there, but it's amazing the details that you or I would run into when I began to put things together, to find out that there were things that there were details that I didn't know were going to happen until I started putting something together. And I think we need to get information. We need to receive information from the applicant. One thing in the list, which stayed there, was building a model. I don't really agree with that, but it was on the original. You may want to build a model. Models take a huge amount of time, and not everybody can build it.
Well, I think it's good that it's there. It's an option. And the models that have come before us, the designer does, and they just do it out of cardboard, and it provides us a chance to see, you know, if the height is really a problem for the street because the building's put up, and that's been useful.
How things come together, how sections of a building come together. That's the model will explain that.
Mhm.
I also have a scar from building a model. The knife slipped.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we all had a couple of those. Randy, thoughts?
I mean, I think that tonight was kind of bookended by, you know, the challenge that we face sometimes, right? So the first applicant didn't really have any drawings that, you know, but they submitted lots of pictures, but they needed to have interpretation and modification for us to understand what that was. And then the final applicant, and the first applicant didn't give us a lot of extra information to look at. The final applicant gave us a beautiful rendering. The rendering is like the 3D model, right? I mean, the rendering, I think if it hadn't have been for that rendering, then we would have all been in a total void of actionable information. Because even though there were lots of other pictures with arrows pointing to different things that were going on and telling us about what there was not a consistency to that. But the rendering told the story, and that's kind of the perspective. And we're dealing with a unique town, right? That's the beauty of what we're dealing with. I mean, every building is unique. We attract a unique person who wants to live in these historic structures. And I don't think that there's a one-size-fit-all recipe for any of it. Unfortunately, it would be great if there was, but I don't think that there is. So I think that somehow maybe it's about, I mean, is there some way, I mean, not that any of us have any other spare time, certainly not any of us on this commission, including the paid staff members, but that we can review some of these applications and be able to say, I know that we say, well, we're not really an advisory board. We're a commission that we review the information and then we either tell them yes or no. Well, in some ways we are an advisory board. And so is there a way that we can pre-review that there are people, and believe me, I know what happens when you talk like this, right? As everybody goes, sounds like a great job for you, Randy. Go ahead. We go down there and meet with Robin every 11 days before the meeting, and you can say whether the list is checked. But it will help the applicant not to become frustrated with this body, which I think happens sometimes.
Well,
That's
Robin actually.
I think that this sheet is fabulous. It's fabulous.
Right.
And I think that Michael and Phil did an awesome job with it.
Right.
I don't think that just checking the boxes gives us everything we want.
No. And Robin, you might want to address everybody on this, because you go through an awful lot with these applicants before they ever come here.
Yeah. I mean, and it goes with even, and I'll not just generalize on these tonight, but there are, I've heard from the commission members in the past for sub applications to come in and praising the applicant for doing a great job for submitting paperwork and all that. No one has seen what went behind the scenes beforehand and what that application looked like from day one.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm the best at it. I have to use my judgment. And as we've seen tonight, Several of you were on one end of the spectrum with what was needed, several was on the other.
Mhm,
I'm having to balance that myself.
mhm.
And I'm also having to balance an applicant saying, well, I don't want to spend that much money right now because I don't even know if the project's going to get approved. There was 2 of the applications today. I had to ask for additional paperwork.
Mhm.
Again, and it's great when those applicants bring the paperwork in several weeks in advance. Some of them come running through the door at 3:50 on Tuesday, knowing they got to make a submission, and then I don't get a chance to look at it until maybe a day or 2 later and tell them they're missing 5 things. And they say, well, I'll bring them into you. No, that's not the way the game is played. You didn't submit a completed application by 4 o'clock, 10 days prior to the meeting. Then they're all upset. You know, so, and sometimes it comes from the ones that have submitted applications over and over again.
Yeah.
I've been
So,
that
you know, so, you know, I still hear, you know, again, about there's one person that talks about the floor plans. I've had owners call me on the phone and say, I don't want my floor plan out for the public to see. I don't want them to know where my bedrooms are at. I somewhat get that, but that's why I kind of, and me and the chairperson has had several conversations about whether a floor plan is needed or not. So again, I understand the need for the floor plan, but I always caution, sometimes the paperwork that's dropped off, next thing you know, commission members like to design what the interior looks like, and that's not what you're charged with. Or stuff that's not in public view, you're not charged with that. I understand sometimes it's easy to push that direction, but we need to stay away from that.
Agreed.
100%.
Is Bill still on the line?
Yeah.
I'm still on the line. I'm listening to Robin, and you know.
I'm here. I don't,
No, Bill.
oh,
I want
Bill.
to, does he have anything to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, can I make a comment?
Yep.
Please.
Okay, yeah, listening to Robin, I could just see, right? He goes through a lot before we ever see these packets. I know he does. And you know, every time I paint my fence on 2nd Street, I learn a ton. And I tell you, people don't have a clue about preservation. And I'm sure he does a lot of educating. Now, I do want to make a comment. I've started to go back and look at some of these houses that we've actually approved to see how they turned out. Did they actually turn out the way I envisioned when I approved, you know? And I looked at one on West Market Street, took it all the way down to the end near the beach on the corner. Remember we talked about it? I think we gave a piece of land to the city on the corner there in that house, and that went back and forth several times. Well, when I looked at that the other day, it didn't turn out anything like I thought I approved.
You're right.
So when you were talking, Madam Chair, about getting 3-dimensional designs and things like that, I guess, you know, I really need all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, we've got to be flexible. Some of the drawings that come in really look good, and I just lay them out and say, boy, this looks great. I can really go for it. And then some that come in, you know, they're like a D-. But I'm flexible. I try to be flexible so that, you know, we don't want to make every citizen in the city mad at us, or we don't want to defeat what we're trying to accomplish, which is to make our city better through preservation. So it's an education process, and it's a learning process for us. We just need to be flexible. But I think what was done here, Michael did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good document to work from. So
and Phil
I
as
just
well.
would say to everybody, go around and look at some of these houses that you've approved, see what you think.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we got work to do, but I think I'm very, very happy when I see what's coming before us and the final result. I mean, I'm looking at the one on Second Street there. That's going to be a real estate office, I believe. That's
Yes.
that's turning out lovely.
Yes.
And it's just, it feels good to know that, you know, this is the town I grew up in as a little kid, that it's only becoming better day by day. And thanks to people like you, Robin, and I'm just glad to be a little bit part of it. Sometimes I get off track, and you all are very patient with me. But I think for the most part, this commission does a lot for the city. And just look at Rehoboth and what they've done to it. I mean, our town, when you ask a lot of people, they say, oh, definitely Lewis, best town in the best city in the state. And, I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Right. Thank you, Bill. Okay, so the question is then, on the agenda, we have this to review and possible vote. Now, if we do a possible vote to accept this, do we want to do it with the provision that Robin can use his judgment for each application?
Yes.
Yes.
I would second that.
All right. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve and accept this with the understanding that Robin would use his professional judgment for the different applications in applying it?
Sure. I move that the proposed application checklist be approved with the understanding that Robin Davis will use his professional judgment with regard to each application.
Have a second?
I second it.
No, thank you. And all in favor?
Shouldn't we just say building official rather than
Yes.
name names?
Yes.
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 Building
I-
official.
Thank you, Joe.
I amend my motion to say
Thank
building
you.
official.
Okay.
Good call.
Any other comments before I call for vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Do you need a comment? No, thank you, Ryan. Okay. All right, carried. Very good. All right, we are now down to, I had under new business.
It's time to eat, isn't it?
Yeah, almost. This is gonna go quick. Okay, I just had one thing down on FOIA. We've been talking about a possible FOIA meeting and some other subjects part of that, which we never got done at all last year because they were always waiting for some additional appointments. And I know Brian and I talked about it a couple times. I'm assuming that hopefully this is going to happen now that we have new city council people and Board of Public Works. I don't know if anybody has information about that.
I can talk to Glenn Mandalis about it, see if he's planning on doing a large seminar or whatever and report back.
Okay, all right. And if not, then maybe we can.
My question for Barbara or Brian is, could this committee eventually be included and have its own email on the city site rather than using our own service?
For all of us?
Well, for this, who's ever on HPARC
Oh, really?
would be, well, I mean,
Does the planning commission, every individual have their own city?
email service, yes, as do the city council people. And somehow this committee has been overlooked about the.
Yeah, they do. I would think that, shoot an email to Anne Marie. I would think that could be set up.
Does everybody want a second email address?
Yeah.
Well, through the city. It would help with FOIA issues if you do all.
Yeah. Yeah.
FOIA, that's the key word here.
Oh, okay.
Right, because if we have to hand over, we'd have to hand over all of it, which is, obviously in real estate, I have clients, I have privileged information in my emails that would be being shared with the FOIA folks.
Yeah, no, you don't have to do that, George. What you do is you do a search through your own documents for what's responsive to the FOIA request. So if somebody came in and they said, 123 Seaside Lane.
Right. But what if we get into a scenario where, their emails are subpoenaed?
Well, no, it wouldn't really happen that way. They'd have to say, no, we believe that, there's a whole process before you get to that point.
Right.
It all gets fought out, at least and Brian can tell me if it's different in Delaware, but typically when I get a FOIA or, it comes to me, I send an email back to Glenn or whoever the lawyer is and say, okay, here's the FOIA I'm responding to. Here's where I searched. In my case, it's my city council file. Here's the dates that I searched, because FOIA isn't forever. It has to be reasonable in terms of time restriction. Here are the keywords that I used. And then I say, I found nothing, or, I'm now going to forward you what I did find. And then he or she, whoever the lawyer is, goes through them and double checks for responsiveness, any kind of privilege, is it outside the time frame, all that kind of stuff. And then they handle production. All I can tell you is it's never come back to me in a FOIA situation since I've been on council where the lawyer said, hey, you got something else, or they think you've got something else, or whatever. So FOIA is cumbersome and terrible, and I spent my entire government career avoiding it. But it serves an important purpose. But your personal stuff should always be safeguarded. You're never going to have to turn over your whole directory. But that said, it probably would be easier and faster if there was an email, a government email for you guys to use. But then you have to make sure you use it exclusively whenever you're doing HPARC stuff. Or you're going to end up going back and going through all your own personal stuff as well. So.
Well, I assume that just means when it's strictly about agenda items and applicants and things like that. But if it's, I contact you sometimes for some coaching on something or understanding something or other, and that would not be part of it.
No, unless we said, you got in touch with me and said, I never, ever, ever want to approve a Brenda Jones design again. Something like that. And that's never, I'm just using it as an example. That's never going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. Typically, I mean, a FOIA request has to be targeted. It has to be understandable. Because remember, if they do something vague and unreasonable, then they're going to have to pay some fees.
Yeah.
So, the system is somewhat self-correcting. Not always, but typically.
Okay, so is everybody interested in having a separate email address? Michael
For
says
safety, yes.
Okay, Joe said yes.
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 Bill said yes.
Robert, yes.
Bill said yes.
Yes.
Okay, raise your hand if you do want a separate email.
All
Oh.
right.
No, Randy didn't put his hand up.
I did. I put 2 hands up. I said, what the heck?
Okay.
And I gave in too, so hey.
Well, okay, all right. I guess I'll figure out. Bonnie, you're still our person. Can you help us get that to happen?
I
What
just
if I do?
contact Anne Marie.
Anne Marie? Okay.
In other words, hell no.
Yeah. Get out of here.
Okay. All right, the only other thing I had was we can skip this. It was discussion about future items and, but that can wait till the next time. We have presentation of chair and staff, which is pretty short. Anybody have any questions? We've all scanned the list. We all have it. Anything you want to tell us?
Oh.
Oh, you put denied in all caps.
I usually do.
Do you?
So it sticks out, yeah. So I want them to stick out.
Okay.
So that it's different, not trying to identify anybody, but just
Okay.
so everybody looks at it when they go over it, it's easier to pick out.
All right.
Was that one specifically denied because of the decorative nature of the rail? I'm just curious.
Yes.
Yes.
They have railings in the back that are white, simple, goes with the whole other structure, and yeah. Okay, no questions about the chair and staff? Okay. Then I have nothing else. Anybody else have anything? Okay, motion for adjournment? So moved. Michael?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, you guys. Good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Yeah. If you need a letter of reference, Bonnie, let us know.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, Bill, take care. We're gonna let you off the phone now.
We
All right.
found a way to do it.
You got it. We'll make it through it. Yeah, have a nice one.
Take care.
Take care.